The second, that sounded like an insult. The first is Louisiana, the island of the Ashes, and the second is your dad.
I can't imagine what.
Choo, choo.
It's like we had a teacher in technology when I was at school, and classes were fine. You know, never had any issue with it. And then someone pointed out, you notice he says "okay" at the start and end of every one of his sentences. I never heard a single word that man said from that point on. Okay, so what we're going to do now, okay, is jobs where you work for anything. Well, Wilson, this,
Excuse
look,
me?
look what he's done.
No.
Look what he's
What do
done.
you say?
Bitch.
No. No. I'm not gonna give you a treat if you call me that. What do
The
you
game
say?
looks cute as well.
Please.
Oh, thank you, Tony.
Please.
Thank you.
Please. Bitch, please.
That's a little bit. I had a bit of drama happen earlier on today as well. And I phoned my sister just to get her opinion on the subject. And she gave me like a proper, measured adult answer. And I'm like, I don't need that bullshit. I don't need this from you. I need like insane, dramatic bullshittery. I need you to, and you also to agree with me and tell me I'm right in every single way. And she just wasn't giving that to me. She was all talking about feelings and being calm, and I was like, no, what's all this about? What's all this bullshit? Stop being so sensitive. I know. And yeah, enjoy some time to yourselves. I want to go to explore.
Enjoy some time to yourselves, everyone.
I just said that. My God, digital me. Stop repeating everything I said. Ooh. But what is side quests? No! Don't want side quests. Go away, side quests. How dare you? Ooh, side quests. No, no, side. I'm a main story bitch, me. Shut up, bro. So, where is all the bits that got broke? Is this it? The ship seems a lot smaller. Where is the rest of it? Did he just stick bits on it? Where's the big massive ship that we had? Oh, go on. Did you want me to check on the others? But you're the only person I can talk to. You son of a
She's not
bitch.
the most luxurious ship, but I assure you she's
What?
skyworthy.
This is his ship, right? Okay. I was wondering why our ship got so shitty. Sorry. Yes, it's the highest school in the charter thing. Ah.
Goblins to act violently?
So for anybody that doesn't know, Flamash is doing a charity stream on Saturday, 12-hour stream. And everybody has to go on and donate because we want to see him suffer and play Resident Evil 6 all over again.
What's this? Nice find. Awesome.
Awesome. Ooh, there's a path in here. What's in here? Oh, gobble.
Ghosts or cats, the only cat.
You know what? Come on, you're 100% right. Welcome in, folks. What's the crack? Steam Train, what's happening? Yeah, so the way they work is there was actual calculations involved to make them bounce whenever they hit the sides of the screen, but also bounce when they hit each other. So it got to the stage that there was too many calculations going and it just would crash everything. The browser source would be doing too much. And why was it about for the PC's incompetence? Not my PC's incompetence, it's every PC's incompetence. So I had to put a limit on it, so they reset after 4 now. But it's Hook's fault. Hook isn't even here. He's away at a wedding with McKinn's. So I'm blaming him. But what's happened? Welcome on. Thank you very much for checking in, Duchess, as well. I know you're streaming at the moment as well. Probably can't hear me. Yes, we got Happy Irishman checking in as well. Fucking Hook. I know. The son of a bitch. But Phantom, welcome on. Thank you for checking in. A lot of noises. Irish, you're 100% right. My PC could not handle the balls. The Blitz balls were too much. Cleo, no, we think about it. Fuck me, it's wild warm today. Is anybody else roasting? I'm putting this fan on. I don't know if you can pick it up on the mic, but I bought a new fan today. It has water in it. There's these big tanks of water you put on the side, and it makes it extra cool, and I like it. So just click get flat out trying to link this title. My fan says 26 degrees inside. It's been roasting today, but I got out earlier and did the garden, and then I had a up a washing line, and I was all proud of myself. And I keep going out and looking at it, going, look at that washing line. That is class. That is class. I did well. I'm in a hotel room with AC. Life is good. Whereabouts are you? What hotel room are you in? And can we all come over and order room service? That's the real question. Flemish as well. He is currently doing, well, he doesn't know if he's going to do the full 12 hours, but he's doing a charity stream at the moment, and I think he's just over $900 as well. He has fucking smashed it today. Been exceptional to watch, even though he's done awful at his games and he keeps shouting and cracking up with, but I think that's even more entertaining. But I suppose to get even warmer tomorrow, and as the week goes on, I know we're not getting it as bad as like mainland Europe and over in England, but it's hot. It's hotter than we're used to over here. Cavan, nice spot. He's on 10 out of 11 hours already. Man's fucking smashing. Fair play to him. Doing really, really well. I kept having to say nice things in the day, and I feel dirty for doing it. Definitely. He's been cracking up a Resident Evil because I think Insanity mode was maybe a bit too much for him. Because there are just points at it where you just fuck 30 degrees on Monday. I think we're 22 over here, so it's not as bad. Thank God I live by the coast. I might just go to the beach and chill out for the day. But yeah, it's gonna be an absolute roaster. But for tonight anyway, hopefully it gets a wee bit cooler. This fan's on me, so I'm just gonna keep chilling with it. I might even turn the fan speed up on it. Yeah, being unsupportive wasn't right. Yeah, it'll get abuse. Yeah, we will support it today, but next stream we'll give him loads of abuse. Although I did quote a while out of inappropriate stuff he said. But it'll be fine. It'll be fine. He'll get over it. It'll be grand. It'll be grand. I like warm. When I can go on an adventure with the dog, I can't do 30 degrees now. And that's the thing as well. See, when it gets too hot, your dog can't go out either. You see a lot of people, see when it gets like 35 degrees, and they're walking their dog, and you're like, what are you doing? And you could tell that dog's balls are probably scalding on the pavement. And you're like, no, you could probably take them to the forest or something with a bit of shade, but not out in the pavement. You absolute maniac. What are you at? You keep them in, you keep them cool. You have them out the back by a bowl of water and let them come in and out of the shade as well whenever it suits them. I used to do it with Cleo, where I would just go out and just dunk a big basin of water with a top here just to cool her down. Because you can see them when they start panting. They are super, super warm. And I don't think people realize, and I know people realize dogs don't have fucking shoes, but how quickly their pads can burn on a pavement. That was black too, so he's, Cleo's the exact same. You can see her arse. There's her bum. Oh, there's a wee toe beans. Yeah, so it's incredibly dangerous for them. I mean, people say, oh, see the sun, they're all, oh, it's a lovely day, I'm way out. And you have to be very wary of what times you go out as well. If you're going out between 12 and 3, that's really fucking dangerous. Like, you're either going to overheat the dog or you're going to scald or pause. Tomorrow's a good dog adventure day. Yeah, go pick a forest somewhere. Go pick a forest or a nice like field or something, or a mountain. I'm happy we give 2 dogs grooming this weekend. Nice wee summer cuts and night. We have to do it with Cleo soon because she is getting
7 minutes. 7 minutes is all I can spare to play with you.
Tomahawk, what's happening? We have to do it with Cleo soon as well because she is getting very, very fluffy. And all of her fur is coming off every time you touch her. It's like me. She's shedding. She wants to be bald. She's proud to be bald like I am. So that's probably what we're going to do at some point this week. We have a decent sized nature reserve, maybe. Take water and let, 100%. Lethal. That sounds class. My dog will be all that. See if there's any sort of volume of water anywhere near, she's on it. Like, there's been a couple occasions where there's just been like a shin high amount of mud and she's enveloped herself in it. She's gone. That just cat comes on, steals the title, and then goes on for the lurk. Thank you very much. I know you're streaming as well, so I appreciate it. But yeah, going to play some more Granblue Fantasy tonight. I really enjoyed that the other night. And see that where we ended up with the ships like fighting each other like pirate ships and all in the sky, and then that boss fight was actually really good. The story is a bit basic at the moment, but I'm assuming it's going to ramp up because there's been some really cool characters. There was Timu Cloud. He showed up. He was quite good. So I'm going to actually cut over the game now. Let me know about volume levels. Continue games and saved slot 1. I had to really watch the way I said that. I could have went either way, really. To be fair. To be fair. How's your man? We just beat him. And then he did the Dante thing, didn't he? He threw down his He threw his spear and jumped on top of it. Spoilers for anybody who hasn't watched the new season of Devil May Cry. Lurk while I live, or live. Work where you live or live, I don't know which one. Tomahawk, thank you very much. If you're going live as well, happy days. We're going to depart.
Snowstorm? Whatever. It's not
With
gonna
snowstorms?
stop us from finding Lyria.
We chase after the red ship.
I'm on the wine tonight,
straining
and I
to see
decided to
through
go for...
flurries
I
of snow.
got a Bushmills tumbler once with a bottle of whiskey,
Lotania
and I haven't really got too much of a chance to use it, and decided to pour my wine into it.
treacherous ravines,
And it is horrible to drink out of. It is not mouth friendly.
Out here, it's just white, white, and more white. The ship
Jesus.
shivers in the blasts of icy wind.
Sounds like Ireland.
This place has got just one message for us. Keep out.
Jesus, is this Nolan? Is he now the narrator of the ship? Which direction we go, Nolan? Nolan North. Black John Blacksmith. Right, we're going to change our main character as well, see how that works. Shadows in the Snowscape. Chapter 5. Fuck, we're flying through it. I don't even know how many chapters are in it. There could be 498. I wonder if I'll get like free reign to kind of go wherever I want with my airship later on. I know it kind of points you in certain directions here at the start, but
Ah! Leyoric, I'm sorry. I don't have the brains.
my goal is to make things so popular. That was John, like John Twitchman. He was a cop 2 days from retirement. What is happening, really? How are you getting on? How are you coping with the heat tonight? Because it's fucking warm. Right, you're playing Resident Evil 5 the other night, or Resident Evil 4.
I'm gonna hug those cliffs. Ride's gonna get a little bumpy.
I don't like hugs. I'll be hugging no cliffs. Doing well. We have a fan going. Next few days meant to be worse. I know. And that's the thing. People like, there's times we say what temperatures is over here, and we're like, oh, it's 25 degrees, and people are like, that's not too bad. But our houses are built to keep in heat. Like they absorb heat and they don't let it back out again. And then if you go outside, it's even worse.
Nothing but trouble. It's like we're cursed or something.
Roland, a word, please.
We live in
I
a
saw
greenhouse.
a light in
We
the
do, yeah, we
distance
do.
before the
We do.
storm hit.
It's great in the winter.
It
Great
was
in the
like
winter
the
because
one
see,
in
as soon as you
10
start heating your house, it stays nice and toasty.
If
But
that
when it
light
comes
is
to the
what I
summer,
think it is.
unless you have AC,
Guessed
which
right.
the majority of us
It's
don't
where we'll
have,
find the island's altar.
because for them
And
3
I'll-
days a year that actually does get sunny, it's never
So they
really
aim
worth
to
it.
drive
But
another
thank God,
primal
bank holiday
beast to
Monday and we're all
insanity.
off.
Be that as it may, Lyria is waiting for us. Now is not the time to speculate.
Look,
I want to
know we
speculate,
gotta
don't you
go,
tell
but
me
the
not to
ship's
speculate.
hurting. We
I'm
won't
all
get
about them
far without
speculations.
repairs.
Making a proper spectacle of myself.
With a blizzard like this, all we can do is wait till it
Speculatical?
dies down.
Is that a word? I just make it up. Maybe. I know. I'll go on foot.
I'll go on foot.
And this
That's
weather,
exactly what I
through
look
a
like and
mountain,
sound like.
Do you know how
An Irish
dangerous that
conundrum.
is?
Complain all week because of the rain and complain because it's too sunny. Well, we will at all times complain about the weather. That
There's
is
an
true. There's
old
no such
monastery
thing as perfect
nearby.
weather for us.
I plan to meet a friend by the sanctum. With her leading the way, you'll arrive at the altar come rain, sleet, or snow.
Then she's our only chance. Come on.
But I don't mind this
Trails
weather
are
when I'm
infested
from
with
abroad.
monsters.
Whenever I go on holiday, I don't mind because
After
everywhere is
seeing
built
your
to have
handiwork,
air conditioning.
I'm sure
So
we have nothing to
it's
worry
sunny, but
about.
as soon as you walk in somewhere,
I'm not worried
it's
about
nice and
that.
cool. It's not too
Thing
bad.
is, I can't leave the Grand Cipher unguarded.
Then permit me to repair her in your stead. She'll be ready to fly.
Oh,
in no
there he
time.
is, my kids. At a wedding and checking on everything. You fucking like it.
Look, it's not that I don't trust
How's the wedding going?
Don't
If you
judge
can
a
hear
book
me.
by its cover. I'm Mr. Fix-It, remember? Repairs are my specialty.
Yeah, she's in your hands. Let's go. Tomahawk, thank you for signing on. You're an archer.
She's in your hands.
My God, that is the
Well,
most
if
chilly
Captain
of all
You're
rules
such a
because
crybaby, Rackham.
you can't shoot if you
Still
don't have an
can't
arrow.
leave the Grand Cipher's nest.
Oh, don't chat. There's an
I'll give
AC
you
in my
a
work
break.
office and people don't
Seriously,
understand how it
ain't
works.
like that.
We have it in ours, but it's automatically
trust you with
set
the
by
cipher.
like our building houses quite a few like civil servant
On my
departments, so
honor,
it's just
do everything in my
everywhere.
power to
Everywhere's the same
catch her
temperature.
up.
And it's nice and cool.
Okay,
Like it's not too
gang,
bad.
let's get going before we turn into
But we have fans our
popsicles.
desks as well
Lyria
in case
needs
things
us.
get too warm. Anyway, I picked this wee one up on Home Bargains for $10 today, and it's a nice job. Right, so we're going to try and swap main characters now. Let's do that. Swap. So this should work. Skills. We are going to bump her. Oh, actually, she's quite a few skills anyway. Bye, G McKins. What's happening?
Remember getting blocked one time and joining the rob by an accident?
I do. How is the wedding going? Oh, I have a congratulations. I have something here. What's it? What is it? What is it? What trophies? What did I get? What did I get? Oh, there's loads of stuff. Claim all. Claim all. I love a claim all and read all button. Every game needs a claim all and a read all button. See these wee icons? Them being highlighted annoy me. Not even reading what any of them are. I just don't want to be flashed anymore. Ah, fuck it. Fuck it. Here, let's go for the biscuit. Got masteries. I have 26. I think hers is pretty well leveled up, isn't it? Because she automatically comes in with a lot of stuff leveled up, which is nice. So it means I can kind of focus on other characters. Low, you are my healer. So I am going to bump your stuff up. That's damage dealt. I don't really care about her damage dealt too much. Actually, should it be defense I'm doing?
Hello, right. I think
Perfect
I get
dodge, HP.
it. It's all so clear.
Is it though? Is it? Just affects her restrict movement. Right, okay. We have bumped up quite a bit on her. I don't think anything's ever helped her healing, but hopefully it just helps her stay alive longer. I mean, that's the main goal, isn't it? That's the main goal for all of us, really. Inventory. Charred lumber and damaged tail fin. Amazing. Right, so now... Oh, there we go. Now I'm her. Right, so that's my normal attack.
Final song.
Happy days. Look at that. Right, can I attack these? Yes. I don't know what this does. Right, okay, let's go. I don't even know if I should be breaking all these. See if it comes back going, oh yeah, our people are icicles and, you know, you lose points if you killed any of them. Like, ah, shit.
There's ice blocking this way, too.
I need to try and remember the buttons as well. I only played it the other night. Oh, shit. Shit, shit. Well, that's just some bullshit right there.
Pitfalls.
The snow doesn't seem to be having any other effect on my characters apart from there's snow around them, which is weird. I thought there might have been some sort of cold debuff or something on them. Oh, there's loads of things to blow up here. Nice. Ooh, enemies. Ah, no bones about it. These guys are enemies. These guys have a bone to pick this.
Gulliest pack of snow skulls I've ever seen. Don't let them surround us.
Think before smashing those ice pillars. All that weight could crush you.
Trigger fingers.
Right, what is I try to find remember what my dodge buttons were. Oh, well done.
What kind of dum-dum wants to meet in a blizzard? Can we even trust this person?
I don't think we should be judging. I think it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Can I blow up these? Yeah, but I have to kind of get out of the way of them. Am I going to end up murdering my own party because I'm dropping them things? What am I getting out of it? I do like this character though. Quite cool. Right, so this one's going to drop as well.
The final song, come what may. Breathe, let her stand.
I don't think it took any health off him. Oh, so it does kind of work. I'm getting ice spires, whatever they are. I'm getting loads of them. Right, okay. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool. What's up here? Hmm? This is the Square of Secrets. There's gonna be secrets. What's this thing? Ooh. Right, okay. We'll definitely be looking into this. What is this? Like a fish? Oh no, it's a treasure chest. Yes, there we go. Getting all them Benjamins. I will not be moving slowly, sir. How dare you? Right, let's go head to the monastery.
Wonderful.
There we go. All of the monies are mine. Right. And forgetting my link attacks. Oh, I could have used that as an attack as well. Have I fuckled myself really wrong? What is down here? Now we're cooking. Let's go.
Who's next?
Oh, there's loads of these guys about the place. Right, okay.
Come what may. Life is a dance.
Rawr. Rawr. Go. Right, better start locking on. I think a little bit more as well. Because she just kind of wandered off in a wee random direction on her own.
Don't get ahead of yourself.
It's fine. She can do what she wants, but I wanted this treasure chest. There we go.
Lucky me.
Ooh, what's up there? What's that? What's this? What's this? What's this? Ah, guys.
Wind in the field.
Saving this one. Sucks to be you. Look alive. After you.
You guys smell
For
treasure?
the winning team.
Yes, I do smell treasure. Oh, it's one of them fuckers. Right, okay.
I just need to collect the stones, right?
Yes, that's all we need to do is collect the stones. And I missed that one. Fuck. I do have a path to go around though. Well, that's just some bullshit. Right, we're gonna go back and do it again.
Worry, we can still try again.
But what would be the best way to do that? Would it be to kind of not do that? No, no, don't do that. Don't do that. You'll fall down. Right, okay. Try it again. This is normally quite good treasure. That's definitely worth it.
Look how it sparkles.
Much like that time Hook used L'Oreal, because he is indeed worth it. There we go. Got it that time. It's these ones. There we go. Ah, look at that. Skills. Skills. And if I can get this one on the way across. Yes. Get this last one. Sweet.
Not a single stone missing.
Nicely job. I've noticed as well, I do keep saying nicely job, and it's not even something I came up with. It is from, I think it's Matt Scoville says it, from AGN. And I've just, I don't know, I've kind of just adopted it. It's my own. What we're following? We're going up that way, right? Okay. I thought there was something hidden underneath there. Right, okay, I think we've got most of this. Ooh, who's this guy?
Perfect. Let's keep it up.
Perfect. I don't know what the butterflies do. I'm assuming it's one of my attacks. How long? I'm going to have to actually look at that because otherwise it's not going to make any sense. Right, so fast lunging attack deals more. That's based on butterfly count. Right. So my butterfly count decides how much damage I'm doing. Or, well, how many hits I do. Ooh, that's quite good. It must be a build-up from a heavy attack that builds up the butterflies. I wonder what my maximum is. I'm assuming it's going to be one of those things as well that you can, through stats, you can increase. Should probably look on that at some point to see which characters are more powerful than others. Yeah, there's definitely something up there. That is a place where you'd hide shit. Fucking net. Fucking net. Hollowed ground. Can I upgrade my weapon? Uncapped max level. Yes. Ooh, next level 30. Select materials to use. Well, let's go with these then. 35 of them to max it out. But it will dramatically increase my damage, so yes, let's go for it. Oh, where are we going? That's really nice. What is it? It's called half-eye. Kind of a snazzy kind of bottle as well on it. Wish I had gone for a proper wine glass, though. Break my PC because I'm drinking a wee bit of wine. Right, so your weapon has reached my. Oh, I can uncap it again. I don't think I'm going to level up anymore because. What if I get more weapons? Can I sell stuff? What you want to sell? What you buying, stranger? Is there anything to sell like shite? No, I don't know what most of that stuff is, so I don't really want to be touching too much of it. Treasure trade. Ooh, I have whatever these are. 8 of them. Cool. Claim. Oh, no, there's no add-ons. I didn't even look earlier to see if there was any serial codes. I've already looked at that. Oh, is there more? Sigils? Dizzy resistance? I need the equip sigils, I think. First, did I save? I didn't save. I reckon I should because I'm going to get to the stage where I just don't know what I'm doing and I'm going to end up dead. Like here, middle, here. The Mariette, sigils. Oh shit, I got loads now. Where did I get all these from? Rupee Tycoon. Dizzy resistance. Right. Attack power level 2. I think that's the one I'm going for. He also needs attack power. She needs health. And he needs critical hit range. And I'm just guessing. But that's what we're going with. Very, very pretty game.
Good day, travelers. Although I bear no grudge against any of you.
Good.
It would certainly behoove you to.
Oh, she said behoove.
Ah,
means her fuck.
I do beg your pardon.
Only badasses say behoove. And horses. Horses and badasses say behoove. Well, that's more like a bridge over troubled water there now.
Milady, you were strictly ordered not to kill them.
They went toe-to-toe with Galanza and survived. This will merely slow them down a bit.
She recognizes our potential. Nice one.
But do keep a close eye on them.
Ma'am.
Ma'am.
Now then, the mountain considers your party to be uninvited guests.
Rude.
One wonders if Mother Nature will forgive this intrusion.
It'd be grand. Be grand. It's all good.
Hey, still alive?
Yes.
That's it. I'm headed up to here with gravity.
Gravity always brings you down. Quite depressing, that gravity stuff.
Nobody move.
How about that? My actual character isn't here. I know that they're not, but they should just put the characters that are in your party just in the background, even if they don't say anything. It's an eyeball.
Even with so great an eye, you cannot discern right from wrong.
Roll it. You copy? Those Avia jokesters intercepted us. Now we're at the bottom of some valley, fighting for our lives.
It's not working.
I guess the signal doesn't stretch all the way down here. We're on our own for this one. Buckle up.
Okay, so the hostility's up with now. That's good. Blink attack. It's an incredibly flashy game. That's the only thing I will say. There's a lot of times I don't really know what's happening. Oh, you've already started. Oh, that's so cool.
All is swept away.
Oh, really cool. I didn't actually see that one before.
I hear ya.
I should keep actually fighting instead of drinking wine, but heck it. Go. It's already down to half. No, it's not down to half health. It's not. It's not even. It's not even a third. Fuck.
Harmony is the basis of power.
Let's stay cautious.
Is this thing going to start petrifying?
It's creating a big ice ball.
Right, okay. Did I attack that?
Better focus on evasion.
No, I don't. Does it want me to fight the ice block? Is that what's happening here? Reckham's fucked.
Rain on the tide rises.
It's falling.
Many things. Dawnflight is a final comeback.
Okay, let's go. Whack at it. Dodgy Mickey.
Wind in the field. Dawnflight. Oh, Captain.
I do enjoy the parkour element of it. You know, the kind of dodging and flipping and going out of the way. It's just very much non-traditional RPG, which I'm enjoying. It gives you a wee bit more dynamic kind of movement on the battlefield. You know, yourself a little bit.
Foam on the sea.
You miss.
Nightfall.
Okay, let's go.
Here it comes.
Little present for you.
I needed that.
Oh, he's broke.
Wind in the field.
And I don't mean in a mummy sort of way.
Life is like the dawn. Cross its moon. Hearing won't disappoint you.
The boss battles in this are very, very good.
Help me out. After you.
Understood.
Got eyes on him. That's what I'm talking about.
It's all in the breathing.
I don't know what constitutes me getting butterflies though. Is it dodges?
Okay. My turn.
Foam on the sea. Night falls. Pass away. Here it comes.
Alright, we're healing. We're healing. Feels like we're healing. Feels like we're healing. Yes, sir. Contender.
Rain on the tide rises.
Two of your skills generate them, two of them do damage. Right, okay. I was assuming it was my triangle, the kind of finisher moves.
For you. This should do it.
Get a load of this.
I'm on none of them at the moment. Link skills as well, see if we did it. Link skills just gave me 2 there now. Well, we're just about to start doing all our moves again. It's kind of a little bit fucked. He really does not much damage. I'm not going to waste it on him because I'm going to need it straight after. Because something else is going to fight me later on, and I just want to run and just whap it straight away. 2 burst. Ooh, level up. Won't argue with that.
Shame we couldn't
Click the
see
skill
eye
shift
to
to tell you
eye.
which one your butter. Yeah, it should do. So, fast lunging attack. The skill strength is based on butterfly count. Damage based on butterfly count. She also gains 3 butterflies, so this one does generate circle, generates 3 butterflies. The link attacks also seem to do it. What's silage? That's Rosetta. I don't have her. Character details. American switch between Dawnfly stance and Flutter. Her skills and form differently in each stance. Her skills are enhanced based on number of butterflies. Says landing specific attacks and link attacks grants butterflies. Yeah. I'm liking that. That's quite good because it allows you to buff and kind of stack up your damage. Plus, I feel like I've leveled her weapon up quite a bit.
Oh, well.
And
R.I.P.
that should help. R.I.P. buddy.
No more funds this entire trip. I've been thinking, what does the Church of Avia want with Lyria anyway?
Whoa.
The goal was to reach Escalucia. She must have caught on
I
to
fucking
Lyria's
whacked
kink
him.
and valuable abilities. Whatever the
I'm liking
reason,
this game. I'm
those
enjoying it, you know.
tyrants abducted her. I won't let them off lightly.
It's kind of, it's one I can see myself getting really into afterwards as well, after, you know, main story. Ooh, it's a candy.
What are you?
See if the storyline kind of kicks up, see if it ramps up proper. I'll be on it. Like at the moment, it's good, but it's very much generic RPG storyline. You know, it's nothing really out of the ordinary, just kind of the usual MO. I think the last time I played an RPG that proper shocked me storyline wise was Expedition 33. Like that one, that game that was not afraid to just fuck shit up.
Life is like the dawn.
Let's go!
I think this week it's there because I have Crunchyroll and Netflix, but that would be actually quite cool. Is it for this game specifically or just Granblue? Because the new season of Bleach isn't out yet, so I'm kind of waiting on that. Although there was a new trailer the other day, which was lovely. I've read the manga for it, so I know what happens. I'm looking forward to seeing it animated. And I'm the same. Ooh, right, okay. I am the exact same with. I'm the same with.
There is but
what do you call it? I'm the same with. Soul level. Look at this for this game. Ooh, nice one. I'll be checking that out then. Soul level. That was the words. I was in the middle of combat and I couldn't even think. I cannot wait for the next part of that. I'm completely up to date in the manga for that one. And it's gonna be good crack. Something has targeted me and I don't like it.
Look alive. Whoa. Nice one.
Keep them coming.
But yeah, I do love a JRPG that isn't afraid to kind of go places with a story. Like, although it's not the most popular one because of when it came out and what it was kind of competing against, but if you've ever played Legends of Dragoon, fucking brilliant. Like, great story. Great game as well. And you can see a lot of the tropes Expedition 33 kind of took from that in Final Fantasy 9. You know, in regards to what happens to what happens in combat whenever you do the enhanced abilities and attacks. Great game. Great game. I think it's on PlayStation Extra or Plus or whatever as well. I'm assuming there's more.
Lovely.
I don't know where the rest of them went. Huh? We'll try that again.
Huh? What a strange sparkle.
I have it on my PS5. I would love a remake for that. That would be good. That would be a lot of fun.
Just for you.
I must have missed one. Oh, so I needed to die to get that one. Right, okay. Fair play. Scarlet Nexus is another... I have that, and I gave it a go. I never got too far into it, but it was fun. Happy Irish, have you ever tried Genshin? Or Wuthering Waves? Wuthering Waves. See, I know they're gacha games, but see those games, you can play through them completely free. And they're just a lot of fun. Genshin Impact, for the grief it gets, is an insanely well-made game. Like, it has a lot of fun. The combat is great in it. I never have. I know of them. I would see if you ever just curious. Try Genshin Impact. It has a wide lot of other games.
Who's next?
Inspirational. You know, there's like you can climb like in Breath of the Wild. You can. Oh, that breaks all of them. That's kind of cool. You can climb like Breath of the Wild. There is the gacha element, but you can still do it for free. You can still, you know, do missions and get tokens to get new characters and stuff. The only thing about the gacha is people who pay a lot of money tend to get their characters leveled up a lot quicker. But if you're just playing through the main storyline, which is also a very good story, it's not an issue. Honkai Star Rail is one of the better turn-based RPGs I've played in a long time. Like, just gameplay-wise, it's solid. See, when you get your actual team, this stage where you can just take most things out in one turn, just by the way you set them up. Great. Like, phenomenal stuff.
All is destined.
With these guys. Wuthering Waves, it's kind of the same thing, it's just a bit more serious than Genshin.
Sister will be just fine. Once more.
There was one as well, Arkfeld, that came out.
I'm right behind you.
All right, sock it to him.
Understood.
That was very good. My worry with them is a lot of people do overlook them because they're gacha games. I know someone said whenever I started this one, oh, it's a gacha game. It's because you can pick your character, it's really not. There's no gambling or chance involved. You just get a token and you can pick a character. But with the gacha ones, you have choice of various things that can happen. You can end up with weapons or upgrades rather than characters. I tended to get quite lucky with them. I got a lot of the characters I was after with it as well, and that was just completely free. And then they do bonus events where you get extra primordial tokens, I think, just because you logged in on a certain day or did a certain quest. And then there's the multiplayer aspect as well. You can team up with other people and play.
Did they need a door this big?
Wait, what's that sound?
Oh, more of them. It's the lads. Ah, the lads are all here.
With the blizzard picking up outside, we have no choice but to fight them off.
There was one as well that came out quite recently, ZZZ. It was the same crowd that made Genshin, and it was quite good. It was like a different sort of play style. Very, very cool game. You can see as well how the games change, not change, but how they evolve as they as they learn more. And yeah, I know the element I said, the whole gacha thing, they do want you to spend money, they do want you to get a subscription, but it's never compulsory. You're never held back on the story or anything because he doesn't. Also, the way the weapons work as well, there's different tiers of weapons, and I'm just going to go for it because there's quite a few of them. The way the weapons work, it works like S1, S2, S3, S4. And I made a great joke one day by saying the only way is S6. As in the only way is S6. And I was so proud of myself. I gave myself a pat on the back for that one. Jesus, we're annihilating them. Fucking hell. Look at us go. See, I hope something bigger doesn't show up. Because if it does, we're gonna fuck. Total damage, 9 grand. Fucking there we go. I don't know what these are. I don't know what's happening.
Don't look at me.
Right, we look to have beaten it, whatever it is. Well, this is ominous. What you're doing that, lady? Oh, we can save her. We can fucking save her. Jesus, we can.
I've been waiting, traveling skyfarers.
That's one thing I really enjoyed about Waffle's wedding as well. See the table I was at? Nobody liked wine.
I am Historia,
And I got
overseer
Hook's
of
wine,
Rose
and
Monastery.
I got Gus's
Thank
wine, I
you
think
for your
Niall's wine as
assistance.
well. I
You
got
must
all
be
the wine.
Roland's
It was class.
acquaintance.
Indeed,
Lena.
I am.
Historia?
Church of Avia come this way? Maybe a flashy red ship?
Yes.
It was
and they've
brilliant.
already
Like it was just like,
deferred
oh, more
the
wine?
course
Yes,
ahead.
everybody will
The
have more
primeval
wine.
god
Meaning I will
Arms
have
is
more.
most displeased.
Then there really is a primal beast.
It was great.
here
Oh,
as
it
well.
was. And I love the fact that the tables all had different
The god's
video
anger
games as
manifests
their
a
name.
blistering white storm. I seek to quell its rage.
It was such a good wedding. Like from start to finish, it was phenomenal.
Well, we're after those jerks that caused it. Maybe we could go together.
There's one of them ones where a while I was like, I was in two minds. I was like, should I go down or should I not? Like we're the kind of weird Twitch guys that Waffles met online. And so it was kind of weird. But then we just landed down and it was just brilliant. Everyone was like, oh, Leyoric. And I was all so weird hearing my fake internet name in real life. But okay, let's go with it.
Lyria's our friend. She means a lot to us. Please, let us come with you.
Even the next day, like we drank so much. And the next day, like we weren't even hungover. We got up, we went and got breakfast, then we just drove back up and like, we were all sweet.
At least you aren't lacking in bravado.
The food was class too. I think I got the beef. Beef. That was a long pause before the autoplay kicked over to the new person.
Yes. That fire in your eyes.
Keep my
speaks
room
of
booking
great
and stay the night.
tenacity
Oh, it's right, because you
and
had to go back.
unquenchable
I know.
resolve.
Man, we booked, it was 130 euros, or 150 euros.
Do as you like.
And we were down in the, we lodged just down from the hotel, but it was still owned by the hotel, so it meant we got to go up and get breakfast. But they were all out. We don't have any 3 bedrooms, so we're just giving you two bedrooms. So me and Hook had one room ourselves where we had 2 double beds. And then Niall had a whole double bedroom to himself. It was really, really fucking class. For 150 quid for the 3 of us, like 50 quid each with breakfast. Couldn't beat it, like.
And guide us past the door of seclusion.
Whoa, what amazing mana reserves.
I'm no stranger to ice-based spells, but this is something else entirely.
Aye, man. If only you could have stayed, that would have been class. What's the screw doing? You're right. Class was, oh, it is. It was a lovely wee town as well.
It is done. Come.
I had never been there before as well. I've been to Sligo quite a few times, but no, never there.
Take care of yourselves, okay?
But it's funny, like Eamon's or Waffle's wife. Fucking, she's fucking hilarious. She's a lot funnier than him. And I gave Hook grief as well because the stuff his wife comes out with, and I was all, Hook, do you know your wife's funnier than you too? And he's all, fuck. I thought that pot was going to attack me. I don't even know what the half of the stuff is I'm picking up. I'm doing it anyway, though. I'm doing it anyway. Fuck. We'll risk it for the biscuit. I wouldn't mind some biscuits. I love how she ran away from us.
I advise the Tradam Sanctum.
The Tradam Sanctum.
God resides.
Tradam Claude Van Damme. Or Jean-Claude Van Tradam. That would have made more sense.
Another door blocks our path.
Allow me.
Am I going to have to fight shit, though?
Oh, primeval god of Belfrost's dominion.
Ancient spirits of evil,
transform
this thing. Umambra, Eva, living. I seen a video the other day as well about Thundercats, which I thought was quite funny. And it was just like, you know, the Thundercats are actually the bad guys, and that I was all really. Yeah, and the girl, yeah, they came. They
the sigils will cease forming.
was Second Earth, he called it, and
can you keep the rabble occupied?
attacked the indigenous folk.
You work your magic.
Like Mumra, although he wasn't the nicest person, he had already been there living, and the Thundercats came and fucked up his shit.
Perhaps they find her intense magical capacity alluring. All the more reason to stay focused. Come what may, we stand guard.
Historiath is chanting.
Oh, you're in for it.
You're in for it.
No one's
So, I like that move. It gains me 3 butterflies, but it also gives me hostility. So it's a pretty good sort of tanking maneuver.
Heed these ancient words.
That's a water spirit. Did it crystallize to survive
Water
the
spirit?
climate?
What are you doing, buddy?
Thank you, Captain. The tide rises. Pass away. Not yet. Don't let those chocolas get the better of you.
Ooh. Aqua Hero? Hero? What am I doing with this? Throw it? Does that fuck up the water, guys?
Rain on the
Ah, well.
I'll clean them up in one.
Sorry, I didn't fall off with my thought. I'm fucked.
You're a lifesaver.
Grab it. Oh, I didn't throw it. Oh shit, she's been attacked. Listen here, deckhead. Let's go. There we go.
There is but one path. The tide rises.
The tide rises. John Riseman. Actually does quite a bit of damage. That is much beneficial for Favori. I would love to go to Portugal. Never been to Portugal.
Just a bit longer.
I hear it's lovely.
Be protected.
I don't know why I was speaking Spanish and I decided I wanted to go to Portugal, but that's just how my brain works.
Rain on the hills.
She was able to do it the whole time. Okay, fine. There was nobody down beside her, but somehow they just appeared when she did that.
Apologies for my earlier incident.
It's almost like it was some sort of generic cutscene bullshit, even though it had no reflection on what I was actually doing.
Expect to be impressed.
Fine. Oh, we've one of these boyos. Let's see, check. Don't know if I do. Yeah, I do. I kind of do. Oh, it's these jabronis.
Hey, the kids learned to
If we can kind of sup them all together, which I probably should be able to do with this. The hostility, get them all coming underneath. Come on, lads, let's go.
Thanks. Moonrise. The tide swells. All is swept away.
I do like that every character's kind of different, and elemental gust. I do like that they're all kind of different, and Tide of Chaos. Oh, I'm down. Oh shit.
No kidding. What did you expect?
I do like that they're all kind of different and they have incredibly different playstyles.
The final.
Trigger finger attention.
Foam on the sea. Free flooding, come what may.
Heads up, people.
Alright, let's go. I don't think I'm going to get these guys before they're done.
Let's keep it up.
Right. No one saw.
Hanging in there?
I'll save you. Did we run out of time?
Yeah, we ran out of time.
Give me your
Fuck.
hand.
Ready to
Right,
go.
okay. You know what? We'll skip it. We'll skip it. That seemed a bit too much for us. Lady, let's go. Frosted flour. Can't bake no cakes with that shit. Oh, look at this.
The blizzard stopped. An ill omen.
We can go missing Lord of the Rings.
Hurry.
Thought she's battering on ahead fairly quick. Jesus, not even waiting for us. Some crack you love. I maybe should keep these up.
But no match for me.
Okay, Historia.
O primeval god of Belfrost's dominion, bestow thy grace.
Of Belfast
Guide us
Dominion.
past the door of seclusion.
What? Great level design here. I like it. I am enjoying it. I enjoy the characters on it. Oh, wow. This guy
Looking for action.
has an
Keep
axe
your
grenade.
eyes on that one. It's deadlier than the rest.
Protect Historia.
There's one enemy. Why is it saying deadlier than the rest? We'll go fight him. Oh, this is why, because he mixes his own wee people.
The final left the dawn. Historia's going to bat for us. We gotta do our
Teddy,
part, too.
welcome on. Thank you for checking on the ledger. You absolute squire, are you? Squire Enix.
Spread
Get
your
it?
wings.
Get it? Because it's like Square Enix, but squires.
Pass away. There. It's calling the bodies.
Teddy. Yours is better. Squire these nuts? Teddy, thank you very much for checking on. Thank you very much for the resub. 7 months as well, you absolute legend. Thank you very much. How are you getting on? How is your night going? Oh, fuck, that one got me. Tell you what, there is a fly and he just keeps hovering right here in my face and I think he's about to fly in my eye and I'm about to punch him. Quiet, just pottering around. How's Granblue? You know what? It is a great game. Really, I think you'd enjoy it. Not just because of the kind of similarities to the Final Fantasy 14. I mean, that's a big part of it.
Read these ancient words.
But gameplay-wise, it's a lot of fun. You know, I'm just going to revive myself then. I'll just do it myself then. Don't know where you lads are all the way.
All these runs. Clean 'em up. Twisted thoughts. Darkness.
What are these boys all doing? They're all up here fucking about. What, lads? What's going on?
Come what may. Free flooding fly.
I need my team beside me.
Try again.
Catch
Little
this!
present for ya. Now we're cooking.
Now we're cooking. Oh, frozen! Let it go, motherfucker.
Foam on the sea.
I think I enjoyed it. Love the extra. It is on PlayStation Extra as well, so... Oh, fuck, right, okay. Definitely give it a look. Oh, he's on his overdrive. Well, that's not good. Ooh, invincibility. Nice job. I need to get this guy. This thing. And chuck. Oh, just wipe them all out, motherfuckers. Motherfuckers. Freeze. I'm starting to understand the controls and the kind of schemes a bit better. And it's very good in the sense that I have a lot of... This character has a lot of tanking movement. Like I have a move that generates butterflies, which increases my attack, but it's called hostility. And it makes everybody around me kind of target me, which is great for tanking. But it also means that my attack power goes up, which is phenomenal.
Chaos detonation.
Chaos detonation.
We do what we can.
Cover fire is my specialty.
Oh, I've been frozen. Let it go. Let it go.
Little present for you.
The circle is on the verge of completion.
Let me throw my balls. Please.
You have my thanks.
Right, no, this is getting silly now.
Could you defend me?
I'm trying to.
Let's pick up the finals.
Voice acting solid as well. It doesn't have band star. So far, there's still a lack of star. That's the only thing. The lack of star so far is
Could you defend me?
what brings it below par in the car. Ooh, there's loads of these. There's loads of my balls sitting about, which is good.
It is time.
This time. There we go. Oh, she did it. It's exclamation mark band plus.
Glad that's over.
It would be a shame to stop now.
Oh, we got ads coming in. So we never even defeated that thing. There he is. Look at him.
And if you're anything like me, then you absolutely love me.
I would love to meet him someday and be all like, you know, there's a redeem on my stream that activates and counts how many times I talk about you, Ben. Just to see what he would say. I think he'd be all for it. I think he'd be all for it. I think he would like it. He'd be all, you know what? Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you, man? Fucking band star, motherfucker. Ooh, treasure.
Lucky me. Lovely.
I just feel that he should be in more stuff. He should be getting all of the voiceover work. Wee Pincers?
Lucky us.
Heard that one before. Right, so we're... Ooh, did I save? I don't remember if I saved. I know I healthed up. We're just going to correctly do it, just in case. Actually, you know what? I'm going to level up, actually, before doing anything. So going to my masteries. Rackham, I think you need a little bit of leveling, kid. And we are going to... Must be weapon level 20. Does that mean I can level up her collection more?
I'm getting the hang of this.
Yes. Right. I am going to go into Rackham, and he is going to get some defense.
Not bad.
We'll give him a wee health boost.
Let's try her out.
Let's try her out.
Yeah.
Perfect dodge. 100%, lad. You get all that. You get all the things. Low has defense and offense, but we're going to go more so with offense for her now. Quick cast specs up. Ooh.
Just living up to my
Her
potential.
abilities are fucking class. And we're going to do the same for our main character. He is going to get some of a perfect guard. Hopefully the computer knows what to do with him.
Yeah, I think I get it.
Cast a circle that restores allies' HP.
Good stuff.
All of the health.
Great.
Like, is she fully leveled up? Like, is there anything else I need to do for... Nope, she's not fully leveled up. Offensive. I don't want to take defense. All right, what we got? What we got? What we got? Enchanted specs. Hit critical hit. Yes. Boosts the maximum amount of butterflies. 110%. Go.
That's it.
Grants unique bonus during lifetime. You know, I think we've done well. I think we've done well. Now you fucking say.
I know you'll get the job done.
She's 1600 HP. Right. Let's go.
Take care of yourselves, okay?
So the plan is now to get back into Final Fantasy 14. I need to finish Dawn Trail before the new expansion comes out. The new expansion looks good. It looks like it's something to get me back into it. I've started chipping away at the main story quest. It's a bit of a slog. But I want to get through.
Huh? Isn't that Lyria? Hey!
Oh, we're going to fight her now, are we? She's going to be a bad guy. Push through. It's not as bad as post Realm Reborn. Do you remember OG post Realm Reborn? Yeah, that's like, oh, let's go to this new location. I'm going to become king. Lyria's lost her fucking mind. I do nothing as bad as that. Yeah, everybody. Like, it's funny now when I hear people and they're like, oh, post Realm Reborn's that's such a slog. And I was like, you have no fucking idea. It has been refined for you now. Oh, it's Timu Cloud. Back in my... Oh, that's the best way to put it. Back in my day, post Realm Reborn was 100 fucking main story quests.
Knave! What did you do to Lyria?
Oh, she called him a knave. A knave? Fucking serious? Knave? I am Cloud.
I wouldn't interfere if I were you.
I wasn't too far off, to be fair.
If I find you hurt her,
He whipped our asses last time.
let the earth embrace us. What's the big idea? Why are you fighting with that scorpion?
Come clean. Why did you
So that's what that is, hostility. It makes him target me instead of mid-party.
We have ways of making him
But
tough.
I love the fact that NPCs still decide to go and stand in the threat range of his attacks. Can I add you in a Discord when I'm online? Yes! 100%.
Does this guy eat steel for breakfast? He's strong as hell. First Galanza.
Hey, of course. Sure, we're friends on FF14 anyway.
His name is Id, one of Avia's top 3.
His name is Id, ID.
No wonder he's so
Right,
tough.
okay.
But why would a man of his ferocity obey the church?
He may be Lilith's son. Details escape me.
Lilith's son, right, okay.
Big cheese is little cheese, huh? Of course, Mom is great and all, but think of yourself, man.
Lyria isn't acting like herself either. We must get to her.
This guy's too good. Can't get a clean hit on him.
I wonder if I ever get him in my party, because he's quite a good character, to be fair. He's only at 95. After all that, he's only at 95. Fuck, we're not beating him today.
Do it, Lyria.
Do it. Do it.
Sprint forth. Wolf of Icy Mist. Nanagarmer.
Well, that sounds fun. He looks like he might be redeemable later on. Yeah, I think so. He's a badass, like. He's cooler than the main character of this game. See, if he was the main character of this game, it would be much more relatable. Be like, oh, yeah, fucking Timu Cloud, let's go. This is fine. This is a... This ain't gonna cause much issue.
Worry not, young one. Now it is I who shall support you.
That just gets got rid of the title because she was champion. My God, genius. Well done, Duchess. Well done.
Remain unquelled. The sun will never kiss these skies again. Oh, my
The sun will never kiss these skies again. Motherfuckers.
We can take it from here. Like ice beneath the sun's rays, your light will melt away.
Dipping around like light.
Ice speed.
Can't get crosshairs
He
on it.
is taking a lot more damage compared to your man. I'm assuming he's going to be a big boss later on. Big boss. Team of Cloud Fog. Yeah. Cloud Fog. I like, there was a line in Final Fantasy 9 as well where there was just like no cloud or squall. And it was just pretty much a wee nod to 7 and 8.
They've been lost to anger.
What's he doing?
It's moving too fast for the eye to follow.
So much 14 here right now. Oh shit, right, okay. That stays. I need to be out of the way of it. Right, okay. Ooh, he's in his overdrive now. That's not good. Stay behind those things.
Let's heal you up. Great timing.
I saw her. Simple. Lot of practice.
I don't think it matters if the hostility is granted towards him because he's just one enemy. Thank you. I want to hopefully break them and then kick into all their kind of special moves because that, in my head, will do a lot more damage. There, I can get his back ball.
Let's do it!
We better stay focused.
Right, focus up.
Focus up, Leo. Free flutter blood. Life isn't like the dog. Come on.
Bring out the big gun.
Life isn't like the dog. The final.
Oh, what's it doing? Sizable. Oh, Betsy. So we're hide behind this. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. Oh, right. Okay. Very Monster Hunter in this part. Very, very Monster Hunter. Can I hide behind the icicles that he makes? Defend yourself. I didn't say go. Well, we'll fucking go. We'll fucking go. Let's go.
They won't get away. Butterfly effect. Ew. Yep, I'm here.
Everybody's going. It's everybody's turn. See, the thing with NPCs, they kind of just go when they want to as well. It's not even something you command. Sometimes you just have to join them. Ooh, burst. Prominence. Yes.
The final. Like the dog level. There is but one path.
We got this.
Big sister's here.
Ooh, right, okay. I love that wee combo she does. 6! We're up at 6 now. Yes, lad. So I think 6 is my max now at the moment. Death's threshold. Well, that sounds
like a
fine.
ranged attack. A final ace up its gauntlet.
Circles bouncing all over the place.
Oh, it's fucking everything. It's doing all of its moves at the one go. Like, if anybody ever asks, what is the main point of... Oh, here it goes. what is the main kind of point of Final Fantasy 14? You know, what's the main strat when it comes to fights? It is placement, movement, and placement. DPS is fine, learning the heal is fine, but it's learning where to place yourself. Dodge shit, that's right. It's learning the mechanics of the boss. And there's so many really good videos and channels that even when the boss comes out, they start to show you what the mechanics are, where you should sit. And I love the fact that, see, when you go on now, the 14 with the NPCs, they are... They teach you where to stand. Just follow the NPCs whenever you're doing it, single player. Fucking fly, go away. What do you want from me? What do you want from me? Like, actually. You know, we're getting there, we're well over 50%. He's in his overdrive at the moment, meaning he will very soon go into break. I am going to keep that attack for break. It's on the prize, everybody.
Stay focused.
You know, I'm not even going to complain about the Final Fantasy 14 mechanics. I fucking love them. I think it's a great way to do an RPG. Get out of the way! Ah, I got the fault. Oh, we got big. Best not to take it head on. I jumped straight in, motherfucker. Best not to take it head on, and motherfucker just attacks it. No, I'm not going to change. I want to keep this for when he breaks. Stop it. He's almost going to break. Once we get that overdrive bar down, they're going to peer pressure me. No. Fine. Grand. So normally your triangle move with characters is like a finisher sort of move. This isn't the starter card, it's a finisher card. With her, it is a... There we go. So now we're doing real damage. That's what you motherfuckers ignored. And my main characters were joining too. Yes, let's go. With her, it's a change of stance, which is quite cool.
Do what we can. Aw, thanks.
There's a Dawn Trail Extreme Trail. It's the coolest tank buster mechanic I've ever seen in the game. What is it? I remember there were some really cool ones in World of Warcraft where its tank buster technique was it would target the off tank. So it was all about the tank and off tank co-managing their... I've got to stay close to those things though, because something's going to pop. So it was all about the tank and off tank co-managing their aggro, which was really cool.
You must seek cover as the coming storms seal your doom.
I am loving the mechanics in this game. It screams MMO to me. With its ice armor gone, it's a lot faster. Oh, hold on. The tank tower, so tank has descended, but then repeats 6 times, and they have the alternated for a short debuff. Visually, it's amazing because you're blocking a big fire breath. Ooh, and it takes... Amazing, man. Final Fantasy 14 I am biased when it comes to this, but I strongly believe it is the best MMO. I mean, there's a lot of folk that talk about their World of Warcrafts. 14's better, in my opinion.
Last hurdle before the finish line, huh? I'm down to race.
'14 has it on visuals, story, and just sheer boss mechanics. Visually, yeah, 100%. World of Warcraft looks like shit. I know there's a lot of people who love World of Warcraft. For a long time, I was a big World of Warcraft player as well. But no, 14 has it on everything. See the fact that you can do every single class as your character, but having to make a brand new one. Game changer. I hated that about World of Warcraft. It meant when you did one class, that was the only class you ever knew. It's the only one you could ever learn. And you're just like, no. I don't have nostalgia. Yeah, neither do I. Yeah, 14 has better classes. Actually, the one thing I think they did wrong, though, is there used to be benefits to different races. I think they should have kept that. You know, like Lalafell will be better with casting and magic and stuff. That would be the only thing. Well, well, it's true. That's true. The lottery system and 14 is a nightmare. I lost my house at the start of the year as well, just because I hadn't logged on. It's raging. But you know what? I hadn't logged on, so it might as well go to somebody else. I might just go around every now and again, just stand in their garden and look at them, stare at them through the window. Be all,
Hello? Is anyone there? It's only temporary, but I fixed up the ship to get her flying again.
I don't want to hear that a flying ship is only temporary. That is so dubious.
Did something happen?
Yeah, I think they should keep that too. Yeah.
Lyria. She...
I turned off my fan there now, and oh my god, it is so fucking warm by the side of my face immediately.
Captain.
That's not the word that was there. You're a liar.
That's a bitter pill to swallow.
It was a pitiful outcome, despite my presence.
No, even I assumed they wouldn't control the primeval gods. And there's the matter of Lyria's odd behavior.
Oh, Lyria, you silly.
Her eyes were empty, as if her soul were caged. What's more, the blue choker...
I kind of want to see behind the mask now in her. Bet she's fucking hot. Or she might be like Jade in Mortal Kombat and have like really, really gnarly teeth.
Could it be what, Roland?
Could it be?
Is it a clue?
Possibly. Just a
Or
story
beard?
I heard a while back.
She would be too sexy then with a beard, I think. Imagine she was wearing a wig and she was bald with a beard. She'd be like us, Teddy.
What now?
The Mind Sealer. A tool that binds one's will, leaving them open to manipulation. Given its inhumane nature, the use of such an artifact was
I
supposedly
think they should revise A Realm Reborn. I think it should be done in such a way that there's proper voice acting and the story is better.
Couldn't we just smash the cursed thing
Because
to pieces?
it's horrible to say to
I
folks,
don't advise using force to break it.
Final Fantasy XIV gets so good once you get to the expansions, because
I figured it wouldn't be
they're
that
all like,
easy.
well, what's the point in playing it if it's only the expansions that get good? But it gets insane. Like it's Endgame is one of the best RPG. It's one of the best RPGs I've ever played story wise.
He could tell us more.
See that bit? I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but see that bit.
Informants don't cooperate without a price.
All inside
deep down, he's
on
got a
the
heart
wind.
of
Oh
gold.
my fucking god.
It'll work out.
Wishful thinking.
That Shadowbringers is so good as well. It just the absolute flip flop it did on it. You're no longer the warrior of light. You're the warrior of darkness because this world has light and it's
When
oversaturated.
Mr. Fix-It's on the case, nothing is impossible.
Got that right. Fixing our airship while it's stuck on a freezing mountain? Wow.
It's mad because anybody who's gone through the expansions and experienced it knows how insanely incredible it is. But
And on that note,
people who haven't are
I
just
say
like,
we take
oh,
to the
I
sky.
wish you could make it
I'll
through
show
Realm
you the
Reborn.
way.
I wish you could, just so you could start seeing how good it gets. how good this game fucking gets. Historia. There we are on a ship now again. There's so much that they give you in that free trial as well. Like, they're so generous with it. Warcraft, you see, fuck all. Was it level 20 or something? I am going to quickly take a break and go for a pee. I will be back in a moment. I will see you folks in 5. Ready, Crash, you son of a bitch. You were going to vote against Final Fantasy 16. You're going to vote against Ben motherfucking Star. How dare you? How dare you? Happy Irish. At least you knew it was happening. At least you were aware of how it was. I haven't played it. You should play it. 16 is a phenomenal game. Brilliant, brilliant storyline. The only kind of issue I have with 16, great boss battles, great characters, great enemies, is around midway through the game, the combat gets a bit boring. But then whenever you start unlocking more abilities, it gets really, really good then. Hopefully at some point, it just hurts a bit too long. I found it, I didn't find it overly long, no. But I didn't do a lot of the side quests. I just stuck the main storyline and I cleared through it, no bother. I just found that the combat, but midway through the game, got a wee bit samey. And then it got, once I figured out what I was doing with it, it got really good towards the end because it's all about combining different icons together and different abilities that kind of stack against each other. Stranger Parties, I've heard, I don't know what to feel about that one. I've heard mixed things. I've heard it's really, really good, but it's not as in depth as you would want in a Final Fantasy game. I know it's supposed to be the kind of Final Fantasy Souls mix and matchups, but
I'm as worried about
I might play it offline.
anyone,
I started playing Star Wars Outlaws today, and that was actually really good.
We finally caught up to Lyria, but her eyes had lost their
I think Chaos
spark.
might be in it.
When I called her name,
Chahos.
she didn't respond.
Chahos might be in it.
She didn't
Star
hear
Wars
me.
Outlaws was actually a lot of fun.
The Lyria we know and love?
I don't know whether it originally launched like that or it was the patches, but I played it for a couple hours today and really enjoyed it.
With so many mysteries left unsolved,
What
I
is
get the feeling this is
Who
just the
knows?
beginning.
Maybe she's a guardian. Maybe that's what. Maybe she's as a guardian.
For now,
Maybe she's a guardian.
we need to dig
She doesn't know
up
where it
info
went,
on
and now
this
she's lost the
mind
plot.
sealer thing. We flew through the night without ever stopping. I can see our next island, hugged by dawn's warming light. Call that amber glow false hope, but I'll take it.
We've got the map location. Ooh, this looks interesting. Liking this. Quest counter. Her fucking quest counter. Chapter 6. Excellent. Done launch great, but a few updates have made it really good. Yeah, I don't know what it was like at launch. I know there were some issues with the stealth missions and stuff, but the way I've been playing it is I'm trying to be as stealthy as possible, but when shit hits the fan, you can just go full action mode. And it adapts very well to it, so I don't know if that was addressed in some of the updates. But I'm having fun with it, and I'm enjoying the characters and stuff on it. It's very, very Star Wars-y. I think it's refreshing to play a game. Little creatures, yeah, and really useful in combat and exploring and stuff as well. And I love a Star Wars game where you're not a Jedi or a Sith. And I know that sounds a bit silly, but it's the one thing people focus on. Whereas when you had like Bounty Hunt, new Boba Fett, Bounty Hunter games and stuff, it's a different side of the universe. You got the experience and a different variation of the combat. Shut up, Rowan. Yeah. Yellow bastard. But yeah, Outlaws, it's on Game Pass, so that's what I'm playing it on, and it's really, really good. The Jedi Knight games are great, but the chunk of those using a gun and several lightsaber, it is. And Knights of the Republic as well.
Luckily, the ship escaped severe damage. Should be a quick fix.
Sorry to keep piling stuff on you. Appreciate it, buddy.
Reckon I wasn't even listening to you.
Or whatever. You know where to find them?
Not a clue, talking dragon guy.
Supposedly operates in this district. Information brokers don't exactly advertise.
I think we always needed a proper Han Solo game.
Sounds like you've got his stuff together.
I guess you'll find
Outlaws
out
is
for
probably
yourself
as
when you
close to that as we're probably going to get. But I'm enjoying it. I'm having fun with it. Now, it might get the stage where it gets really, really boring, but it looks good and it plays really well at the moment. And like I said, I don't know if that's big with what updates they've used to fix that. And I know it's Ubisoft as well, and they're dicks, but you know. Oh, this place is. Oh, look at that.
Wait till you visit the
Whoa.
other districts. I'd love to give a grand tour, but
No biggie. Besides, sightseeing will be a lot more fun once Lyria's back with us.
very true. I'd better start
People
brushing
won't
up on
agree.
my tour
Solo,
guide
the
skills.
movie, was pretty good. I haven't seen it. I know of it. That's the one where you're one of the Game of Thrones and stuff on it, and it's like a young Han Solo. I've seen clips of it, but I've never watched it. But see, to be fair, you know, we need more stuff expanding that universe that isn't just Skywalkers. It's like, oh, I'm a merchant. I've grown up here and this far off, and it turns out I'm a Skywalker.
Of course,
So I can use the
Sea
and you're like,
Hollow
oh,
wouldn't be complete without
everybody
a
doesn't need to be a
blacksmith and
Skywalker.
alliance rep if you need to use their
Anakin,
services.
yeah, cool character, lit, cool character.
Flowers here.
Stop focusing on that one family.
So good. Judging from your gear, are you perhaps Skyfarers? Welcome.
Our gear's metal. Metal gear. So quests here now. I think that's needed the wrong thing about that. Just recasting older. Yeah, I thought your man looked a lot like Harrison Ford. But I don't want.
Again, got all kinds of flowers here. No wonder the city smells so good.
I guess that's
What is this? Carry on.
where
Accept
the
quest.
seed in Seed Hollow comes from.
Did I have to pay to take that side quest? Snack Shack. Ooh, what's the box? What's in the box? You need a silver key? Right there, you.
That's locked up tight.
This looks to be it. Is that the quest I just undertook? Is it just going to give me the quest marker for the guy? Oh, right. I was supposed to hand an item I already had. Oh, that's good. Ooh, level 20 now. Yeah. I don't like the direction they're going with all this kind of de-aging technology and AI where they're just going to keep the same actors forever. Recast it, reboot it, do it again. You know, do a different story. Like, we don't know what Han Solo looked like when he was in his 20s.
Calling it huge would be an insult. Bet you could spot that thing.
We don't know what Luke Skywalker properly looked like when he was in his 40s, so just do a story on that. They have the Star Wars Jedi Academy storyline. Step on that a bit. Or just go to another part of the universe at the same time and be all like, this is a new story. I've already apparently done a lot of this stuff, so I can just hand it on, which is weird. Hello now. The one movie franchise, and this is a weird one to say, but the one that has completely embraced what it is the Fast and Furious movies. And they're ridiculous, they're crazy, but they fucking know it. They know what they are, and they know what their fans enjoy. It's the anarchy. I'm down side streets now. What's happening here?
What are you?
I got a coin. And to be fair, I don't mind the Fast and Furious films. It's a type of franchise where you can just switch your brain off and just watch. And you know what? It's grand for what it is. If you don't think too much about it, you're okay.
Who's asking? Ah, snap, it's Roland. Where you been hiding, man? Thanks for always looking out for the boss. No, quite the opposite. Zothba has always been the one bailing me out. That info on Olivia was spot on.
What are you into?
But enough about that. It looks like you gentlemen are in a bit of a pickle.
A pickle? Nah, man. We're swamped with work right now. Everyone in the family's fully booked.
Is he Batman?
So if you got
Is that what this is? Is he actually Batman? Is he a man who's also part Batman?
Huh. I get you're busy, but we're also on the clock here.
So what I'm hearing is, once these errands of yours are cleared out, that'll open up Zothba's schedule. Is that right? More or less. Not like our mountain of work is gonna get smaller anytime soon, though. Got it. Captain, what do you say to lending these fine fellows a hand?
I want to make a JRP style game with cute little characters and have mad deep voices. Be like, hey, my name's Pikachu. What the fuck you doing? I like it, really. Don't cast me as a character. I'm in.
I'm in.
Do you understand the vision?
Me too. Beat sitting around all day.
There you go.
Hey, my name's Naruto. I fucked your mom.
And not just any co-workers. These Skyfarers have an impressive resume.
For real? Awesome. Thanks.
We appreciate it. If for starters, you think you could check in with a buddy of ours? He should be at the market.
I don't trust these guys. They seem a bit sus.
Let's kick some tail.
Why would we kick tail? Rotten little man.
We probably should have made an appointment. Oh well, we'll make it work.
Huzzah. I'm quite liking this character as well as my main character because I do enjoy our combat style. I do like the fact that you build up the butterflies and stuff and increase your damage that way.
Here's the deal. Some bigwig lost something in the city. Something really dangerous.
You lost something to fall off the back of a van?
I can't handle it myself without my legs turning to jelly. talk
I
with an
think you're ready
alliance
for
rep.
this, Jelly.
I left the details with them.
We're Skyfarers. Why are you sending me everywhere? Every dog at the back rolling around.
You're looking for something
So,
dangerous?
Ready, you're playing Resident Evil 4 at the moment.
must
What
be
is
new
next
that.
for you?
Yeah. I'll write down.
Bum, 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 bum. Where am I going? Over here. Over here. Over here.
Yes.
I think maybe I might ignore the vote and do Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy X is a great one. And I know you probably know this yourself.
Looking for a
Jesus,
dangerous
it's on her.
thing? Ah, okay. Yeah,
Fucking hell, I
I guess
can't-
you could call it
Does it look
dangerous.
away?
Try looking in places with shade, but be careful.
Final Fantasy
You
X
never
is
know
a
what
great
might jump
game
out at you.
because it can be as linear or as off the beaten path as you want. I know some people like Final Fantasy 8. It'll go with for Echo S. 100%. You should. I agree. Echo S has a lot of quality and life improvements. We'll have mics, audio, or the revised GFs and stuff audio, which fuck, when he was making it, they sound amazing. Plus, it'll have all the voice acting as well, which really adds to the game, especially because you don't really get Squall's attitude too much in text. But FF10's a really good one. I streamed that and I just stuck to the beaten path. Just streamlined it, and it's not as long as a game as you think, as long as you're not wandering off and doing all the side stuff. You can do all the side stuff offline, which I found quite good.
You're looking for something a magnet.
I mean, we aren't on it, but still, I will accept the NPCs. Well,
Yep. No doubt
someone
about
might be in it.
If it's what I think it is.
I mean, if
You'll
you're
find it in an alley.
in Galbadia prison and you find the guy who charges 500 gil for a game of Triple Triad,
Tell us what it is. Oh, whatever. Let's move on.
we on the way. Probably stream a golden path. Yeah, do side stuff. That's what I did. That's 100% what I did.
Oh, excuse me?
I didn't think you were streaming like
No.
of course this Saturday night.
What do you say?
I'm not a
No.
and I'm not
No.
liked by someone on the crew.
I'm not gonna give you a treat if you call me that. What do you say?
What did you do, Ready? What?
Please.
For any of you who don't know, our buddy Flamash was doing a 12-hour stream tonight, and he was raising money for charity. Last I seen, you were at $901.28. Raised 13167, so somebody else joined in the fun. Excellent. I don't know if Cleo's actually in out. Cleo! She might not be in the house. I can hear her out the back roaming about. See her at the back. Daughter's out playing ball there. When she comes on, I'll give her a treat. Her treat's just sitting there waiting for her. How did the rest of the stream go? This is how I unwind looking at a bald man. Yep. The way I would run if Leyoric called me that. You know. Teddy. Come here, Teddy. Oh, there she comes.
Sorry, we're going streaking through the quad and into the gymnasium.
Fuck,
Come
Team
on,
Stream Streak.
everybody!
Amazing. Leo, what did you get? This is from Flamash. No? Look at her num num. Look at her num num, the Wayne. No, stop. It's too warm tonight to blush. Oh, Diddy. Mute Diddy. Go get your treat. Look at her num num. My daughter's looking at me. Leo, attack. I turned the camera off because she quite clearly attacked right now. Who's doing Insanity Plus? Is that different from Insanity? Hold on. Did Plumos do that entire thing on the wrong difficulty setting? Did he do it in Insanity Plus rather than Insanity? No, I did not. I don't know. Teddy seems like a trustworthy individual. There's only insanity. No, I put restrictions on top. All right, okay, I get what you mean now. It's sad that it was Flemish's last stream. It was a good send off. I thought so as well. I thought it was a good way for him to end streaming. What's true? Yeah, the punishments. Makes sense. Makes sense. It was a really good stream though. I was dipping in and out during the day. I was out cutting the grass and taking my kiddo places and stuff. And then just calling in and announced it. Flemish. I thought it was actually sabotaged in the long run. Yeah, I would say so. The punishment's dead. But that's the whole point, isn't it, really? Sierra, what's happening? The real punishment is replaying. Don't say it like that. No. Resident Evil 6 is Flemish's favorite game, and he can't wait to play it. He said it several times on stream. There weren't like a 5-minute, no, there were 30 minutes of inconvenience.
Glad that's over with.
Couldn't heal, run, use shit for like half an hour of the game. Of course you weren't going to finish it. I think you do a super easy run on the stream at night with all the infinite ammos and just to actually beat it and balance it out. He could do, yeah. Yeah, it's true. Regular people weren't going to give it charity. They were just on board. 5 months would be too short. 30 months would be reasonable. Yeah. But at the same time, it means that you just get more and more frustrated at the game, which I found funny. I found that hilarious. But I enjoy seeing you in pain.
Being a good information broker means having a finger in every pie, so to speak.
Roland, you fucking slut.
Good progress. On to the next task.
It's so warm tonight. Oh yeah. But that was the idea. People see me struggle and get frustrated in the name of charity. This is a nice charitable stream. Fuckers, fuckers, fuckers. For charity. There was a fly in here earlier on, and now my nose just feels really fucking itchy. You're not getting the point. I'm allowing you to the max. I agree. The restrictions to that length of time was really entertaining.
But we're short on ears. If you see any castle guards, could you listen in?
Oh, Sierra, you can tell. You can tell that you're not out tonight by the way he's behaving himself. Oh, Jesus, the other night he was ridiculous. Oh, Jesus. Jesus. Yeah, I did my favorite. Encounter an enemy. It was the no stealth, I think, was the more difficult one.
Greetings, Skyfarers. Welcome to Seed Hollow.
Where can we eavesdrop without being noticed?
Oh, up here, right, okay. They're going to see us walking up here now. Oh no, they'll never see us.
So my
Give me over about 2 hours and I had to check his VOD to see how well I behaved.
Don't leave me hanging.
Oh, his VOD? Oh, he wasn't too bad with his own. Oh, Jesus. It's other people's. Oh,
No,
Jesus.
why? It's to honor an astral who once saved us Sky Dwellers.
That's a good one.
What a joke. That's what I said. They were the ones who conquered us. A compassionate astral. Can you imagine?
Passionate ass.
Now that story I'd like to hear more about. Unfortunately, it has nothing to do with our task.
Then why were we listening to it? No sense.
Remember, keep it hush hush. Serenity, this spot looks good for spying. Shh.
Heard the news?
Yeah. They raised the threat.
Honestly, my Death of Future Fallout versus charity stream. It was a really good idea, and it went really, really well.
Castle defenses will be stretched thin.
It was annoying though that we had to be nice to you. We had to come on and say, "Oh, birthday, oh, you're doing well." Now that it's over, fuck.
At least we're safe here. You don't have to worry about Seed Hollow getting invaded. Just hope I don't get shipped out.
Had to be nice to you. When did that happen? There was like 3 minutes where everybody was nice to you. Can't remember.
People might get edgy if this leaks.
It was for the VOD. It was for the charity trailer that you have to bring out now.
What are you staring at?
Nothing. Sneaky does it now.
Worth it. Don't put yourself through it. Look at the stance on this boy. Look at the way he's standing. Fucking, that's a power stance right there. Oh,
Can hide here?
there's nobody there.
I know what I saw.
I know.
Harvin was wearing white robes.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me. It was AI.
The intel report to a T.
They say that uniform
Yeah,
stole
exactly.
out to one of the deadliest groups in Avia. Obviously, the Silver
He shit himself. He's holding it on with his hands. He's corked it with his thumbs.
Strange techniques. I should have arrested that Harvin. What if they've already infiltrated the city?
My God.
Avia may have already.
Who's he talking to? He's chatting himself. Fucking mad.
That's bad news, but good to know.
First sign of
I think
madness.
we've heard enough.
Eating your
Let's
own
go
shit.
report this in.
What?
Sorry, we're going streaking through the
Roy,
quad
what's happening?
and into the gymnasium. Come on,
Five
everybody!
streak. Nice one. But yes, thank you all who came around and donated. Oh, look at him being nice. Look at him. Look at him. Even though he doesn't donate, and just shoots. Oh, the shade. The shade.
I see. I guess we'd better offer some resources. By the way, didn't you say something about needing to see
What's
the
the part
boss?
of odd where
He should
you
be
weren't
in
there
by
for?
now. Why don't you head
No.
for the bar?
The stuff that man came out with, Sarah. My God. My God. Disgraceful behavior.
Thanks to him and his informants, the
He was
city's
like,
managed-
there was one point, I'm just going to go on the big screen for this. And it's on the VOD, but he might have deleted that part. But there's one point he was like, yo, I ain't cleaning that front bathroom. No matter what you say, I ain't cleaning that front bathroom. And he's all, you can donate all you want. I'm not doing it. I'm not cleaning it. And we were like, yo, man, just clean the front bathroom. He's like, no, never. That ain't my shindig. No cap. Skibbity toilet. Ain't cleaning no toilet. And that's what he said. She's walked off. Fuck off. That was my best bet. The worst thing I said was when I was beside me and I was eating and I realized, when she was beside me and I was eating and I realized. Ah. Yeah, you started that and she was right.
Stay relatively
Disgraceful.
peaceful.
Disgraceful.
I'm going to do him one better.
Shenanigans.
Protect every single dweller in these skies.
Really? Are you sure you're not biting off more than you can chew?
Was that too much? Anyway, time to hit the bar.
And I said something horrendous and I realized. Put her off her foot. Right, okay. Wouldn't be like you. Oh, look who's back now. Look who's back now. It's Sierra. Well. My friend was chatting to me one day about a circular structure that holds water. I know he meant well. Jesus, we just walked the whole crew in here. Except the actual character that I'm playing as.
Everyone, meet Zathba.
Zathba. Oh, we were just talking earlier about how Flamash turned around when you weren't there and started bragging about how he wasn't cleaning the front bathroom. Sammy, what's happening? Mr. Worldwide. I fucking love that nickname, you know. You know, Flamash calls me bad names, but you're so nice to me, Sammy.
That's some jam.
I see you're playing a good game. I'm loving this game. This game is great
Let's
so
talk
far.
business.
I've had a lot of fun with it.
You didn't let me finish.
We are a
Roland,
charity.
you don't always get the
Selling
finish, kid.
info is how we don't starve. And the juicier the intel, the tastier our meals.
Bullshit.
You want a seat at the table? You gotta bring the bread. Know what I'm saying?
Me bringing the bread is the yeast of your worries.
Loud and clear.
Was trying to get a
You
rise out of me.
folks don't strike me as the type that can afford our prices.
I dare you, son, my
I'll
wishes.
say, those hefty ship repair bills add up pretty...
How about a proposal? You...
We really don't have time for that.
Ain't nobody got
Don't
time for
pass on
this.
a deal till you've heard. We've already looked into the mind sealer around your friend's neck. The catalyst stone that'll cancel the magic sleeps in.
I can't hear anything because it's loud at the store. Sammy, just coming on and chatting is
Are you
all
absolutely certain?
everything. I appreciate it, buddy.
Let me guess.
Even though I know you
You're
can't
giving
hear
us
that.
the scoop because you want something in return.
Man knows how to cut to the chase. All you resourceful folks have to do is
The
break
game
the
Leyoric
seal
is playing
on
Granblue.
those ruins.
We all get so much entertainment out of those comments, you know.
It just so happens there's hidden treasure in there.
The source of the game is a spin-off as one hell of a grind. Right, okay. Yes, I can see that. So much. Well done. Well done, sir.
And those are the conditions. Not a bad deal, if you ask me.
Yep, we both get what we want. Seems fair enough.
Did me just lose my patience? That's why you're not
I
up.
think any lead
Do
is worth
patience.
investigating.
The choice is yours, Captain.
A mug with feet. What?
I'll be waiting at the port.
Come
Come
this one?
see me when you've got your answer.
The sweet feety bits.
Mr. Mr. Shade back there was no ordinary dude.
I would say it's more of a flagon. Game gets crossplay in this Ragnar. Oh, I know that the DLC looks quite good. Yeah, it got toes. It's got toe beans.
I think you painted a
Toe
different
beans,
picture of the guy
toe
rolling.
beans, toe beans, toe
Well,
beans.
he's very
Ew.
passionate about his work. Yes.
We didn't come here to dig up treasure for someone else.
I know it's not the most direct way to get to Lyria, but it's better than nothing.
Why did it have to be Dolly Island, though?
You almost did that at the same time. Hey! I see why you look so ever cold. I'm looking forward to that DLC, you know.
Knows what he's doing.
He's playing as Namaria. What? Namaria? Why is that a thing? Why is that? What's wrong with that? It's truly a man of culture. It's the character I randomly picked for me whenever I got a card. But she's really good. You're doing a great Saturday so far. I am, Royjoy. I am.
Alpha wanted to thank you for your hard work. Something about
We're going to do some shoutouts as well because my mods ain't here. They ain't here to do my shoutouts.
Enjoy your gift.
I don't know what that gift was, but thank you.
The fruit in the market looks
Not a problem, Roger. Thank you very much for the awesome streams. I know you're having internet problems at the moment. I called on the other day and you were playing is it marbles with chat,
Sure, Lyria will fall in love
and you're
with
having a
this
wee bit of
beautiful
connection issue.
city.
It's gonna be great showing her around.
Looking for that special love?
And Sammy.
I don't got all day. We doing this or not?
Sammy, the artist previously known as Foodman Sam.
Pleasure working with you.
Good.
Yeah, it was a slideshow. We just, it was still, I was lurking away and it was still good crack. I'm on test right now to see if my ASP.
This is out of the
It's
blue,
awful
but
when
I
it's
might
completely
have
out of
some
your
personal
control and there's
things
nothing you
to
can do.
tend to.
Well, I should buy 2 new computers to try and fix it.
Oh, say what?
While you...
I appreciate the...
There's no need to worry about me. I promise. I always finish what I start.
Of course you do, Roland, you
Thank you,
slut.
Roland. We owe you so much.
Take care of them, Zathba.
Where's the city? I'd like to move there for reasons.
Are you telling me how to do my job? Who's wearing
Ben
the
Star doesn't
informant
live
page
here.
Oh, you got me there. What was I thinking?
Yeah, we move this world. Some world in an event
at
always
least take
happening.
this.
Not even that, it's all different floating islands. You couldn't walk anywhere.
Well. A transceiver.
Whether my SP, OBS, or Twitch
made
itself,
it with
because it
my
seemed
own
to be
two
the only
hands.
one randomly
I'd
having
like
issues.
it back when
Strange.
this is over.
Could be a setting issue then, or maybe
Better
an
hope it
upgrade
doesn't
issue.
fall apart on me then.
But Burly Bullman,
Now, as a small bonus, our family's pride and joy.
they're not Ben
will
Star,
fly you to
so,
Dolly in
you know, what's the point?
style.
Be careful out there,
Hey,
everyone.
you can move there.
Hi, I'm Ben Star.
Welcome.
And if you're
Look at
anything
him.
like me, then you absolutely love me.
I don't know what she's cracking up with. Oh, why are you in this shitty boat again? Oops.
Oh, before you ask, this ride's free. Make it worth my while, Skyfarers.
Dolly Island.
Fun fact,
That's
draft
where we're going
are
to
the
find
game's
the catalyst
number
stone,
The dwarfs, the
free
male,
area
are tall and
from the
muscular, and the
Mind
female is short and incredibly curvy.
This is our last
I
thread
think we
of
might
hope.
have met one of them earlier.
Nothing's gonna make us let
Like
go.
it was, we had to look away from the
Not
screen.
even a
She was that
waking
curvy.
nightmare.
The character I'm playing is one. Makes sense. It makes sense. I picked her because she had a really cool katana. She's short with horns and incredibly curvy. Ah. Kind of curves that need to. Yep. It's a female giraffe. Right, okay. Oh, it's your woman.
It's okay.
Oh, happy. She said it's okay. It's grand now. We're fine.
Come, the stars await, and we mustn't keep them.
Still, I don't see an issue. I think we can save her. Ah, Timu Cloud, what's happening? The ones with the animal ears and tails, the world's equivalent of elves, don't ask.
Do you
I was explaining, Harvins equal nothing. They're nothingness.
And how are you feeling?
I feel fine. Why ask me such a question?
He's going to join us. He's a good time on there.
I found it. Another god.
That's Hank Marvin's Hungry People. Hank Marvin.
As we fly closer to the main island, an ocean of sand.
Oh, Ian shared this one with me earlier on that. Oh, it was so good. It was so good. It was so good. Entered the competition the other day for you had to submit desserts to the different countries' judges, and every single country cheered except Australia because it was a
I don't do well with heat.
because it was a meringue. They boo meringues.
I would walk through fire and
They boo meringues. I have to give Ian credit for it. He sent me a Discord and I was like, oh, it's so good. I'm stealing it. My new favorite. Humans are, well, humans. Racist. Yeah, that one for me. You did. I put it in your chat earlier. It was so good. Hobbits always look at children and they hate it when people assume they're children, but they really can't tell. That's worrisome. I would worry about that. Treasure. Read it. I don't even pay attention to this. I maybe should. That's only one, right? Okay. What kind of trousers did ghost hunters wear? I don't know. What kind of trousers do ghost hunters wear? Or something to do with Spectre. Paranormal jeans. Very good.
Do you like to craft a weapon?
Blade of Purification. Look at them stats. Right, this doesn't make much sense to me, right? Okay, so it has a stat in green with a down arrow, and then a stat in red with an up arrow. Also, it goes down to 290 and up to 7. Right, okay, I get you. I don't have enough treasure to make it anyway. Green is less! I know. Fucking hell. So we'll do a quick shave. Are we quick shave? Is that just a call? I think it is. I think it is because it went down from 315 to 290. I think that's what it was telling me. But still, the green with the down arrow and the red with the up arrow just baffled me. Green is a different status. It is. It is. But you know, way normally in games you're looking at it, and green means better and red means less better or worse. Less better. That's a. Right, so see her, I see that she has horns and she's shorter, right? Okay, I get it. I thought, oh, it's going up and this one's going down. I know, but it was the other way around. And the red was going up quite considerably.
Forward! Take this! It's over! Oh, Lyria, hold on. We're coming. You never know.
For some reason, my son is upstairs shouting.
Over there. Looks like a way into the ruins.
Remember the seals?
Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit.
They may be around here.
I know. Search for the cobblestone, right? So it's this way anyway. I should be going exploring more. Actually, Real Latency uses that one in his chat as well. The whole sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit.
When was this structure built?
Thursday.
Despite the wear and tear, doesn't
It was
seem
both
that
Thursday.
old to me.
Probably
Didn't
has
say
a
which
complicated
Thursday,
history,
but just a
like
Thursday.
every other tomb with buried treasure.
Ten. Oh. Electromagnetic sand. Ooh. There's your chest. Finding all the stuff. Oh. Oh. Shit. Shit. Electromagnetic. I know. Electromagnetic sound.
Just try to maintain your balance.
I see you found the golden carpet the desert rolls out for its guests. Enjoy
Lovely.
the slide.
What does that mean? Did you set a trap for us?
What would I gain from that? Don't worry. You'll be fine.
Well, that's okay as long as we're fine. Because if we weren't fine, it would be a worry. Must kind of the top level. Ooh.
Vern can fly. If we all grab onto him.
I'm only one dragon, Catalina.
He's just coming back. Bet it does. Going out. It feels like Journey now, doesn't it?
Well, you folks got guts. That shortcut's known for being, lethal.
Don't screw with us. The floor gave out and you know it.
There's something here, isn't there? No, it's fuck off. Very, very Journey. Love that game. It's such a good game.
I mean, you're not wrong. We need as much time as we can get. Are we still going the right way?
Yep. Up ahead, you'll see something that looks like a door.
Something that looks like a door. Is a professional double door?
Lovely.
What is this? What are these wee pots? Right, what's over on this side? There's some stuff. Not a huge amount, though. Is the door... That is not a door. It's actually... Door? I don't know, but a door is not a door when it's ajar.
Huh? What's that glowy thing on the floor?
The key is activated. Right, okay.
To moving forward. Stand on it for a bit and watch the ruins come alive.
Is this the light of a primal? What kind of...
The thing I don't like is whenever you change your main character, they don't have any voice lines. They don't do anything. Apart from just combat.
Well, I'll be. The door's opening.
Let's go. Oh, what the fuck is this?
See that platform smack dab in the middle of the desert? You gotta light the whole thing up.
Right.
The contraption you're after is probably sleeping soundly beneath it. After you break the seal, we'll be collecting.
But is a jar still a jar if it's closed? I don't know.
Yes.
It's in a jar.
But we all know these sorts of places.
And then it
are
becomes a
riddled
character
with
in the Phantom Menace.
Nothing's free in life. You want the catalyst? You gotta work for it.
And you know what? Fair point. He's not wrong.
Keep one hand on your weapon at all times.
Hey, it'd be boring if all we did was step on tiles. Let's start by exploring up ahead.
What is this? Oh, that just kind of
peculiar wind magic.
shoots me forward.
Perhaps
Is that
this
my ship or
mechanism
theirs?
exists as a form of transportation?
That ought to make desert surfing a breeze.
Charger shocked the Paul. They missed a trick when they didn't make him a Sith. Because that was the rumor, and everyone was like, you know what? That actually makes sense. It would make him a really good character. And they're like, nah, we're just not going to do that.
You never know.
We do a quick shave here as well, because I don't know what's ahead. That was playing in the store today when I was doing errands. Amazing.
So we need to make this whole circle glow, huh?
You've got it. It's basically a trap door to the vault. Once you activate all the keys, the door will unlock. And that sweet, sweet...
She is very short, that is true.
You mean there's more than one key?
Yep.
Kraken, what's happening? It's too hot. You know what? This landscape kind of reflects the heat outside as well today.
Lines are clear.
it's starting to get dark, so hopefully that kind of cools down a little bit. I got myself a nice new fan today too. The one thing I never considered though is the fan itself takes water to blow out cold air, but is potentially that going to interfere with my computer because of humidity? Yeah, well, I need a cold shower. Do it. That'll help.
It just breaks my heart.
Raining all week today. It was hot and humid and sticky. Nightmare.
Or this Skydam's version of one. I wonder if they imported the technology from Earth's day.
Was it guarding something? Please don't move. Please don't move.
Trying to make it cinematic. Let's go. Oh, fuck. Gone.
What is rock and stone against an unbreakable will?
Saw David Hayter today. Amazing. Amazing. How did it go? What did you say to him? What did he say to you? Did they say, Metal Gear? Like what?
Nothing interrupts us. Trying to activate the key while speaking it out? I'm impressed.
It's called killing two birds with one stone. Whether we
I
pull
need to
it
stay on
off
this
is
thing.
a different story.
It's go time.
Looking all together.
Don't forget your sister. You have given me little choice.
Look, it's losing power.
Fuck, it goes down too quick.
Stay on the switch until the device is fully charged.
But that means no running, dodging, or jumping. Might want to activate the key after we've won the fight.
Yeah, maybe. He might have a point. We'll fight this thing first.
The light is fading away. Let it go for now. Our priority should be to secure the area.
Try not to move.
Give me your hand.
Ready to go. Not fall. Spread your blood.
Now we're cooking. Bet it all on the bullet.
Follow me. Okay. Pursue them. Dawn flies left.
Let's stay cautious.
Nah, be like Roy with the online game. Stand on the bad thing and take all the hits. That's kept you waiting. And he replied, no, kept you waiting. Love that man. Absolutely brilliant. Big Boss Robinson, who's another Northern Irish streamer, met him at Northern Ireland Comic Con, but he went dressed as Big Boss, and it was quite funny. Where he pretended to be his daddy. Burton should play this. Burton would enjoy this. Oh, Volume 2 Berserk. I still have to get through Volume 1. I need to sit and actually proper finish reading it.
You're a lifesaver. Nice moves.
Why, thank you. I go everywhere cosplaying. You cosplay as the famous Twitch streamer, Ready Crash. That's true.
We got this.
Cover fire. You have given me little choice. Life is life. Rain war demands blood. Pass away.
This is a tough nut to crack. I mean, it is practically a living rock.
That is true. Oh, I'm down. I'm down. Help me. Help me. That's 30 quid. Others are charging 50 for 30 quid. It's not bad for meeting David Hayter. My issue sometimes is there's situations like that and people don't actually know who you're talking about. And I'm like, oh, David Hayter or Nolan North. I've met Nolan North and Troy Baker before. And they were fucking really sound. And would love to meet David Hayter. Also, I would get him to sign. I have an old DVD of Guyver Dark Hero, which is a live action film he was in when he was younger, which is pretty good. And you can actually hear the start of Snake in it, which is Guyver. The Devil May Cry. Oh, very nice. And I brought out a film a few years ago called Wolves, which is about werewolves starring Jason Momoa, and it was very good. Perfect. And he wrote X-Men too. That's right. He was a screenwriter on it.
Help is on the way.
100%. And Watchmen as well. Watchmen movie, I think, as well. Yeah, so you were just there, ready, whenever I was thinking it.
The squall breaks before morning light.
Give me your hand. There you go. Blast them full of holes.
Oh, you got stuck on there, buddy.
Narmaya.
They won't get away.
Narmaya, let's go.
Butterfly effect. Moonrise.
But that paint 100% no.
Not now, not ever.
But Happy Days, that sounds amazing, Kraken. I'm jealous. I'm jealous of you.
That was
Got
a
him.
close battle, but we managed to pull through.
And I have to do 3 more of them. Bet you there's one over here now. There's 2 of them, guys.
Only halfway? Pick up the pace.
We're halfway there, but we're also living on a prayer, so I wouldn't worry about it, Racken. It's all good. Oh, it's charging that thing as well at the side.
Good. Just a little more.
I'm sure you probably can just try and avoid and keep doing it. I got some Akira mini decoration things and coasters before the 750. I was like,
an even better time than I'd hoped.
yeah, the prices are expensive. I mean, if you are going to a con, be prepared. The stuff is normally unique and really, really good, but it's normally expensive as well. So you've still got half to go, that's true, but I'm also halfway there.
Leveled the island one night 15 years ago.
Holy mackerel.
Comic-Con this weekend. I wish there's Comic-Con over here.
Any non-work related info is gonna cost extra.
Fine, whatever. I didn't want to know that bad anyway.
Yeah, you did.
Part of the circle's lit up. That switch we activated worked.
Right, so over this way next.
Light up the rest so we can get inside.
I should probably restore everybody while I'm here. The Mush, thank you very much for the 100 biddies. You have given money to our Norgan Savior. Thank you very much. Jesus, it's well generous. You don't have to do that at all.
Going from freezing mountains to sweltering
I never saw anything video game related. It was very disappointing compared to October's. See, it depends on probably who's organized it and what kind of merchants and stuff they have there. The one I went to was in Antrim, and it was actually really good. There was Nolan North, there was Troy Baker, there was the original Red and Black Power Ranger. They were there. Zordon was there. Good few people. It was a really, really good con.
So hard walking through sand.
But that's been 90 quid. I think I got them for like. Oh, not Nathan Polly. It was Nolan North. Sorry. Nolan North was about 30 quid.
Trouble. Ranged attacks are our best bet against that flying beast.
Nathan Pauline would be a good one. But yeah, 90 quid's mental. But at the same time, he is very famous, not even just for nerdy stuff, or just normal TV show stuff as well, like The Rookie. Ah, Zach Griffin. Gryffindor! See the door behind him? It's a Griffin door.
Remember every moment wasted here.
Got a photo up.
Charge
Charge 65. That's worth it, man. Worth it.
Been saving this one.
Watch it. You're not getting away. You don't scare me. Cross moon.
How dare you? I was doing my move and you moved away. Sir. Sir. Oh, that's a bit funny. Got an additional photo and digital copy. Got up to 92 50. I think I would have paid it. For David Hayter, 100%. He's my favorite voice actor. If it was him or Ben Starr. Yeah, 100%. Ben Starr, I don't think does cons yet, but I'd say there'll be something he'll do eventually.
Wind in the fields. Night falls. Swift as thought. Yes, death.
I don't like the looks of this.
You're right. They've been lost to anger. Life isn't like the dark.
He's in his overdrive now, so my special moves have less of an effect on him.
Once more.
I don't like this. I don't like it. Wish I got an autograph. As it's 40 quid and all slots are filled. Oh, no way, man. I was trying to wiggle my way out of that one. We're gonna die. Oh, they're back up. Sweet.
Armor break. Little present for ya. Heads up.
Like the final.
Don't seem to be doing as many link moves as I was in the past. Imagine the nuggets you'd make just out of this thing. I know. McDonald's will play premium for him. I don't know if it's a Souls thing, but it's kind of taught me that always go for kind of one of the rear legs. That's where you're attacking. You're less likely to get caught with a frontal attack or a tail sweep.
Give me your hands.
Ready to go.
His overdrive is nearly done. He will move on the break then. Once he moves on the break, I can start doing my other moves and hit him with hopefully my specials if I build them up with them.
Right away. So I won't disappoint you. Evanescence.
Oh, you bitch, she got stuck.
There is but
Her hostile is up, but she's 3 second things.
Little present for ya. He's saving this one. Whoa, that was painful.
Night falls.
Bullet for ya.
No, look at that. Look at those shows 90 quid for selfie. It's 110 for photo op, and I was like, nah, 90 quid for a selfie. You might as well just go for the photo op if you're inclined to pay that.
Moonrise. The tide swells.
There we go.
All is swept away. Ew! Yep, I'm here. Wind in the field.
Oh yeah. Piercing.
Certain as death.
Heads up.
Get him.
Reverse.
The final come what will.
I was about to say, I don't know what the difference is between the 4 and the 3 burst, but it looks to be about maybe 1,000.
Got it in my sights.
Everyone okay? You're so thoughtful, Captain.
Who is down? Fuck 2 of them. Seems to be when those attacks kind of happen, they all go down.
Come on. Stand up for me.
Let's do this.
Ooh, right, my health is quite low. I have no idea what's going on in this game. It is very much like a Final Fantasy XIV boss fight. There's a lot of movement mechanics. There's a lot of bars and gauges you have to try and build up. And you know what? I dig it. I like it. Very, very flashy. Very enjoyable. You're fighting a boss 6 levels higher than you because you're a badass. This is true. But then again, there is 4 of us, so shouldn't that even us out?
Try not to move.
I needed that.
Yeah, you bring me back from death. Let's go.
Oh no, you're not finished yet. I'll repay this debt someday.
Not the other way around. You have certain folk that do offline leveling and they just come in, they're like 40 levels above a boss. Yeah, I don't do that. Don't see me doing that. You jump like Yoda. I know. And she is quite short as well, so it makes sense. Just wait until he does it level 1. I know. The level 1 run. No level no. Although this game doesn't give you the option, it just levels you up.
Spread your float.
And the hostility's up, but the points are up. There we go. We're dead.
Big monsters always pack a wallop.
We're 75% of the way there. Very flashy. I like it. At the very start, I was like, I don't know what's happening, but now I kind of have an idea because I'm looking at my gauges, seeing what I'm building up. I know what my moves kind of do, which I quite like. Although,
Only halfway, pick up the pace.
I think this should maybe charge a bit faster once you defeat the boss. Yeah, keep it slow if the person's trying to squeeze it on without beating the boss, but they beat the boss. They're a wee bit faster.
Just a little more.
They've already won. You know what I mean? You know what I mean, Mr. Beat? Very near automata as well. This kind of layout.
Hang tight, treasure. Papa's cup.
I seen the treasure chest as well.
When it comes to money. Wonderful.
We'll go back, we'll heal up, I'm gonna grab the last one.
We have time for a little fun, right?
No, no fun.
Been saving this one. Heads up, be hard enough for ya. Yahoo! That's what I call express service.
That was awesome.
It was pretty cool, wasn't it?
Magic like that.
You folks working or playing?
Both. Both. We're doing both. I may level up. Forge weapons? Can I forge a weapon for her? Can. The Blade of Purification looks to be a bit more powerful. Do I level up this weapon? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Didn't spend that much in public transport there. 810. Ooh, nice one. I'd say you probably would spend a lot more if you were planning the park. You drive in and park. Paying for parking's a nightmare. Oh, I don't have enough treasure to uncap it. Okay, that's quite good. That's quite good. That's a significant bump. Plus, it's flashier looking, so I like it. Sword of Eos. We'll just make this guys a bit stronger. Level up weapon. $28. Should bring it up to level cap. But if I dove, I'd be playing ULEZ and congestion. Oh, right, okay, yeah, I get you. If you drove, right, okay. I read that wrong. Yeah. And that's a bit of a nightmare, isn't it? Now, forge a new weapon for low. And forge. Yes, I would also like to level up. Yes, please. Saying she is my healer, it's probably more beneficial for me to level up her stuff too. We're going to do a wee quick level up, I think, too, just before we continue on. And it's not my skills. Does everybody have 4 skills? Yeah. Except you. You don't have 4 skills. Why do you not have 4 skills? Good. Rackham, you're going to have to get 4 skills. So we are going to rack them. Should be offensive.
That's the stuff.
Right, champ. Going to head to bed. Thank you for this, Teddy. Thank you very much for coming on. Anybody? Father! Anybody that's not following Teddy, please do so. I'm assuming you'll be streaming tomorrow, Teddy. If we're lucky, we'll get a little bit of live and kicking. IT crowd, 100%. Love IT crowd. I've never looked into this straw. Ooh, I've got it. Everything just went on the racking there, right? But, fuck it. You needed it. You needed the upgrades. Look at him there. He's 4 abilities, lad. Nah, I did this morning. Tomorrow afternoon, 5:14. Awesome. Awesome. So very much like what's happening now. Just multiplayer. And Walker Savage Raids. Nice one.
Thanks for waiting, everyone. All saved up.
Yeah, IT crowd is a great time. I quite like this. This is quite a cool idea for an area. Although the enemies in between have little or no consequence.
More undead. I had my fill back at the mountain.
You never know.
I'm hoping they have a wee bit more. My team has a wee bit more bite now that we've leveled them up a little bit.
If we use the terrain wisely, we can split them off into smaller groups.
Or just run past them. What? What is happening?
And live to fight another day.
What is the story? How are we getting on?
Did this used to
I've
be
been looking to catch your streams as well recently, boy, and
Judging
it's
from the look
too
of
late
these
at night for me.
ruins,
I
it
see they go
collapsed in a
live, and
large
I'm like, ah,
explosion.
it's like 1 or 2 in the morning. How are you getting on? Are you still playing some Crimson Desert?
To the spirit, but memories of pain and bloodshed. Let us release it.
I fixed the CC. Did I? I didn't do anything to the CC.
Big sister's all better now.
Ready? I didn't actually touch the closed captions at all. Shame. That's boring. I know, because it was very, very mental the way it was trying to interpret my accent previously.
Everything, down to the last minute details.
Great support.
Well, you're getting a bit ahead of yourself, aren't you? No one else has bolted the move. What are you at, brother? What are you at? What are you at?
I hear ya.
Oh, well, if everyone else is going to have a go, then I'm going to have a go.
They won't get away. Butterfly effect. Moonless. Ew. Yep, I'm here.
I'm assuming, by the way, you know Narmaya, that you've played this before. Absolutely loving this game. This is actually a really good crack. It gives me very much Genshin, but 17,000. Gives me Genshin vibes, gives me Final Fantasy 14 vibes. I'm liking it.
Got it in my sights.
I really picked it because it is a kind of shorter main storyline RPG. But yeah, so good so far. There's lots of art. Okay. Is it sus? Is it all sus? I just got very big Raiden Shogun vibes from Genshin. Rod, what's happening? This is a corny game, Granblue, aka corny. It is, but it's good. I like it. I'm enjoying it so far. It is very, very good. I'd say this guy was the easiest out of the 3 so far.
Credit where credit's due.
Art is, oh, the art is wonderful. Yeah, but blue corn chips. And now with the wait. It's a waiting game. The key is activating. Granblue. I get you. I get what you're saying.
Only halfway?
How do you wait a wee while before I could figure that one out? Or are they just not a thing in Ireland? Corn chips? Doritos would be the only thing, I think. Not so much. We would go with potato crisps. Blue ones? No, not blue ones, no. Bit of blue? Bit of blue.
Nice job. Good help is hard to find these days.
Species of corn, it's naturally blue. That is not. No, we don't have that over here at all.
Ruins and grab the loot.
Sounds a bit corny.
Date with that treasure chest.
Now for the moment of truth.
Things like bikers and such are corn chips. They are, but they wouldn't be blue. Unless you had them in an adult form.
Just don't forget to bring us back our box of riches.
Because they're a bit dry. Right, okay. Are they dyed before they grow? Or is it like an after product treatment? We're going to save beforehand as well, because it kind of gives me restorative stuff back too. Are those purple looking chips? No, it grows blue. Jesus. Look what genetically modified. I suppose it's kind of like them candy floss flavored grapes. Just mental. Actually, properly heirloom? Right, okay.
No way.
What's this?
What's this? Tiny ninjas.
Not these punks again. If you want a beating, we'll oblige.
You took the words right from my mouth.
Of course, I like to get them to weird people out. It's like my own deal. You just do it to make them uncomfortable. Fair play.
Unfortunately, I can't allow you to claim it.
Oh, why not?
Damn.
That just sucks.
You may call me Magliel, and these are my kindred.
Magliel? It sounds like some sort of delicate French musket. They're all tidy. Oh, they got tiny little swords. Oh.
And we wish to show
She's actually 500 years old. Hey, but she's itty bitty.
Do enjoy yourselves to the fullest.
I'm going to murder you all, but it's all going to be really adorable.
With pleasure.
Oh, that's cool. Couple cards actually, and I'm glad to actually, but I think that's the original color of them as well. They're see the bright orange carrots. That's not their original state. They were more like turnips.
Those swords are killer. Cover each other's backs.
Thank you, Captain.
Pump them all. There shall be puntage.
We must have taken out a whole platoon by now.
Brother, I have leveled up mid-fight. Do not mess with me.
I'm so thankful for this crew.
Oh, that's my... She's in my team. I went to attack her. Fuck. I think I'm like Messi kicks a soccer ball or something. I don't know. I don't know enough about sports ball to really comment on that. I know who Messi is. It's your man. It's the fella that kicks the ball well.
Magliel didn't become an obvious general by being a pushover. He and her squad have tricks.
Do that now so I can get my butterflies.
Don't underestimate
Come,
them.
my lady. Come, my lady. Come on, butterfly. Sugar. Baby.
It's not over.
Oh, they're all still targeting me? Right, fuck. I thought if I do it before they spawn on, they might not target me and I'll still get the butterflies, but no. It still happens. Wait for them to build up their packs a bit and then we just fucking watch it. I wonder if I'm going to have to fight your woman like Leo then after this.
You're so thoughtful, Captain.
You're so thoughtful. I've eaten purple beans. It's like the green ones, older varieties, and needed a string to connect. Alright, okay. It's exactly the same as the green ones. Are they cheaper? Are they better for you? Is there a reason why they're purple?
The final
Come on! Take this! Serves you right! Stuck the landing on that one!
Yeah, that was great!
You too.
It's like whenever you see brown bread, you know it's slightly better for you. There's more fiber.
Don't let up yet!
Great! Yes. Focus out! I must find my center of focus.
Would you stop running away from me? Variety of beans that. Right, okay. So it doesn't have any sort of health benefits or anything, it's just the way it is. Please don't tell me that was the boss. I kind of want a wee bit more of a substantive fight.
I have failed, my lady.
I'm hoping she'll jump on now and we get stuck in.
I will kill. I will shoot.
Very well. Since you insist upon testing the sword veil.
There we go. No, I regret everything. No, take it back. Take it back. Stop it. Don't hurt me. Oh, what's that? We all have our big special move signed up. Oh no! Right. I think she might have some sort of shield on, so I'm not going to unleash anything yet. So I can get this down. Oh, fuck. Paralyze?
But of course! My blades hold infinite potential. It takes a true visionary to see that. On the crescent moon. Spread your wings.
Oh, right, okay.
Let's patch you up.
Much obliged.
Magic sword keeps bouncing whenever we throw at her.
Oh, why are you doing your move now? No! Hold off. Fuck's sake, we're all got to do it. If this weren't a game, I would say I would probably wipe the floor with you all, maybe. Yeah, true.
Butterfly effect.
Look at that. Look at that.
I'll get him! Knock down, knock over!
Wind in the sky.
Back up! I hear ya!
Shine as one! Ascension!
I'll be an emerald for no joke.
My, this is all it
Decent chunk of change right there. I don't mind that. She's in her overdrive, but you know, we're still getting stuck on there. Like,
Like to run away?
I did not think you would last this long. I can see why Galant. Go out and mingle! Everyone loves a sharp partner.
oh, did it say that one coming? You kind of have to dodge jump over the top of it. Invincibility frames. I will not complain about it at all. Let's go.
Rain on the nightfall.
Such devastation. This was not my intent. Break yourself. Your defenses are broken. Let the slaughter begin.
Can't have the catalyst!
Weary of this farce. Weapons of legend, assemble!
That's actually quite a cool move. I'm not even going to complain about that. Oh, this is going to be a Thor move. Oh, this is pretty cool. There she is. I know. Oh, so many mechanics happening at the one time. I like it. Parkour. So they take out these weapons now.
The stage is set for the big bang. Come on. Let's enjoy the show. Rain on the hill, cross the moon.
Let's patch you up.
I'm feeling right as rain.
It's a bad house out here. I'm having a hard time keeping track of everything.
If we don't destroy those weapons, they'll have us dancing to her tune all day.
I won't disappoint you.
Little Hammerstein.
I worked so hard to get that in my collection. Some on the sea does contain superlative weapon.
There we go. We're sucking these on out. Look at that. We've 3 of them down. Just this last one.
Free weapons on fire.
Where'd it go?
Little present for you. Hot enough for you.
How can you treat a masterpiece like that?
I think we pissed her off. Apparently, I already had this on my wish list. Just hasn't dropped as much as it's on PlayStation Network as well. If you have PlayStation Extra or Premium, it's on that. That's what I'm playing it on PlayStation. Why are you breaking my antiques? Yeah, I know. They're like, ah, you're not even an art connoisseur at all.
I guess so.
There are still greater heights to climb. Impossible! I'm stronger than this!
Ready to face the music?
And ready. See, after the main storyline, there's multiplayer. Just saying. Kind of goes a bit Monster Hunter-y then at the end. Why are you doing them? That annoys me. They just all prematurely go. Plus, expansion's coming in June. Yes, that's true.
As the primeval god is witness.
Captain, the captain's here.
Shine as one! Ascension!
We are fucking her up.
Now you've done it. I shall return that flicking soup.
You ever played Mega Man 1 or 2?
Let us begin.
I'm not sure if Freddy's ever streamed them. I don't know. Oh, you trying to bring these back? Well, it went so well for you last time, didn't it? Didn't it? Didn't.
Oh, God, Mallet, whose belly quakes with thunder. Festival!
Maul and Mir, are we minute there, Batty? Eh?
History is painted in red. Pierce them through!
Can I just go straight for her? Apparently I can. What's their attack? What's their amusement? They're quite good, aren't they? Denbon Zakura, Kageyoshi. Uncut.
I would have been happy stopping at Act 1.
Oh, she's about to get her ass handed there now. Done. Done. I'm a sucker for good old chanting magic dialogue and die or my ultimate attack. Yes. Yes, that's true. That's true. Whenever they take the time to explain to you that their ultimate attack's coming, you're like, what if I just sidestep? Don't sidestep. Don't stand there so I can do it. No. I'm going to just move to the side when you do your attack. Oh.
With this doohickey, we should be able to get the old Lyria back.
Come in, crew. Is everyone all right?
The one thing I did enjoy about Bleach as well, it's like,
Cypher back to 100%.
a lot of the characters are like, Bankai's the ultimate move and it's super secret. No one ever really sees it unless they're about to die. And then they proceed over the next few seasons to show everybody all their Bankais.
But it's safe in our hands now.
That's what I like to hear. Great job.
My name's Byakuya Kuchiki, and I need to cut the grass. Long cut.
I won't fail!
Yep. Take a leaf out of her book. Oh, what are they doing?
Everybody run!
Lady! Fall back!
What is it this time?
That doesn't look right from up here. Oh no! Listen to me! You all need to get out of it!
Crap, move it!
He said crap. He said a bad word.
No, 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 no! This is not happening!
Oh, we got to fight this thing? Oh, if we do, I'm all on for it. Shadow Colossus style? Oh, fucking yeah. Let's go.
Behold! Autobots transform and roll out. I am Galactus.
Hey, boss.
Feels like overkill for a glorified treasure warden.
Mega Rock.
Fuck, he is a transformer, isn't he? Would a bee hold a bee's nest? Hey, listen, Rod, you behave yourself.
Made it just in time.
Roller! Gotta get a little bit close there, huh?
Berate me later. Let's provide air support.
Roger.
Escavilian. That's actually quite a cool name. I don't mind that.
That's primeval god Excavalion, the divine guardian of this land.
Neon Band Escavilian.
Crap! Get out of there!
Everybody grab on to something!
Wreck 'em.
That's how it's gonna
Wreck 'em,
be,
bro.
you lumbering junk pile.
I'm assuming I have to climb up him somehow.
My treasure and gets away with it!
Whoa.
It would be disgraceful to turn tail and run. It's up to us to pacify it.
Battle time, huh? We can do this! The
You
bigger they
climb
are,
up it?
the harder they fall. Rain on the hills.
This is Agatha. Thanks for the help in Sea Dog. Rilla reporting in. Glad you guys are alive.
Hey, what's
Oh, right, okay. So we do have to kind of step on here.
This is Tucson. Requesting backup. We've got to stay.
This game is fucking brilliant.
There goes one reactor!
I believe they assist in providing power to Excavalion. I've confirmed the number of reactors on the ground. That must be a self-defense mechanism.
What am I looking at? This is the most relatable thing ever.
Glad to know it can
He's
feel
flying!
Keep up the punishment, gang.
Look out, everyone! A powerful attack is coming!
Get ready to avoid it!
Thankfully, it's incredibly slow.
It's aiming at the airship!
Let it. We'll keep it busy for you.
I'll circle in as well.
Well, this game, but the laser doesn't. Yeah, if it doesn't one shot, if you're silly enough to get hit by it, you're right.
Foam on the sea. The tide rises. There is but one path. Pass away.
Destroy the reactors in the left foot.
Excellent. Now do
thought
the
they
same to the other foot.
Other foot. Here we go. Ah! He's moving.
Overdrive.
The missiles are raining back down.
I'm going to shoot missiles out of my groin. They may or may not impregnate you.
Tricks up its figurative sleeve. Be ready for anything.
Oh, flying away. He knows what I'm doing. He knows it. Oh, right, okay. Oh, he's gonna shoot at the grind. Oh shit, he's really shooting at the grind. Fuck. If that doesn't one-shot you, I don't know what will. Bleep! Jesus Christ, look at that. Ground missiles. Should be more crotch rockets. This is phenomenal. I thought that the end of the last stream, the bit where you were doing the ship-to-ship combat was good. Cannons.
Our ship took a gut punch. Putting out the fire now. My guns are busted.
They're all over the battlefield. Yes, let's go.
And we're only slightly worse for wear. Anyone who could still fly, follow me. I'm sorry I failed to warn you of this peril. I didn't think Avia was here to trigger Escavalian's awakening. So, after Mana's armor, perhaps I should have. Are they intentional?
Am I in the area? I am in the area.
Like overkill to slap a primeval god away just to keep us from getting a catalyst.
Okay, I gotta ask. Are the primeval gods the same as primal beasts?
Never heard of these primal beasts. All I know is the primeval gods safeguard their respective islands.
As for my humble opinion, yes, Bird. I believe they are the same thing. Every skydom has its own history and culture. Some local lingo is bound to be different.
I didn't even.
Roland
I thought I clicked on it. I didn't.
knowledgeable about this subject, doesn't he?
Oh, it's a whole reactor gone. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? That one on your fucking belly button. That's a belly button piercing right for you, buddy. Another one down. Another one bites the dust. Can I disable these weapons? I'm in there at laser beam. Yes, yes you are. We can confirm you are in fact in the area. I might have to make my way around another gun now. I never even thought to shoot the big glowy things in his feet. Okay, go with this so it makes me go faster. Go faster, man! Whee! Ooh. Are you?
I'll save you.
I don't think I'm in that area. Right, okay.
Get ready to attack! You can avoid it if you time it right.
Ah, shit. Right, okay.
Not yet.
Well, that gun's fucked. We need another cannon. Size that guy? Thanks. Thanks. I always take a compliment from her. She's almost as tall as me. He's about... He's half a hook tall.
Don't deviate from the flight path. And fire the ether cannons if you can.
It's hot enough, not getting shot down.
Shut up and do it.
Trying to get that shoulder cannon on the house.
I'm telling HR about this.
What are his ankles? Can I fuck up his ankles? I do this arm. Oh, there we go. What's what I'm talking about?
Enough cannon fire like it's nothing. You gotta hit its weak spot.
Yeah, he's gonna fucking mess us up. See? I knew it. I knew it. I'm teaching you by a giant robot HR person, so typical Saturday. Yeah, 100%. This is overtime. It was worth it. It was worth it. There's 2 more cannons over here. They should help. Ooh, there's one up there. I can't get up there. Fuck. Desert Flare. Woo! No, that's Ric Flair. Woo! Am I getting caught in this? I'm not. Right up it is. Why is that glowing red if I can't shoot it?
Get ready to scramble out of there.
Crap! You saying all we can do is run?
Then only save one. Your hide or your stride.
Oh, got an arm.
Oh, come on.
Right. And there's an outbreak too.
Just knocked it down on all fours. Now what do we do? I see a red
Is it looking at me? Thank you, Roger, for the clip.
Yes, that core powers everything. Seems like entering repair mode leaves it weak and vulnerable. Are you ready, Sapa?
I'm ready. That made me chuckle. I appreciate it. Made me chuckle too.
All right, crew. Let's get trigger happy. Fire!
Yes, lad. Let's go. It's refreshing as well. It's something I don't have to do in regards to this.
Is that a barrier?
I have to climb up it now.
Explosions. How'd it go up there?
Excavalion won't go without a fight. It's protecting itself with a sand barrier.
Sand barrier? That really grains on me.
Primeval god of fortification for nothing. Why
I need to be fighting these things to it.
If we don't do something, it'll get back on its feet.
I know. We can climb up its arm to get onto its back.
I'm already doing that. Why are you coming up with that idea now?
Like a plan to me. Come on. It's time to climb Mount Huntley.
Hey, Sapa, since we're kind of in a deadlock right now, would this be a good time to rest? I have visual confirmation. You're almost to the top.
Yay! Batman.
I think I see it.
No, wait!
Oh. This guy turns on the truck. It's the best game ever. 10 out of 10.
Holy crap! How do we beat this thing?
Oh. He's like, fuck you, dragon. Oh, yes. Look at this. I didn't know what to expect of this game, but it's fucking brilliant. It is. I was expecting some Granblue, but this is. You're right. It's Grandier. Now we attack the thing. Let's go. We stabbed them in the eyeball.
Just barely. Time for some revenge. No, you shall fall by my blade. Helping other barrier. Sword loser.
The last defense of our core is gone. Please find a way to break through.
We busted one of those glowing cylinders. We just need to keep this up, right?
Yes. Once you destroy all the cylinders, the barrier should deactivate.
Got it. And remember, bud, shining light first. Ignore the rest. As long as that
All of the glowing cylinders have been stopped.
The barrier has been lifted. You can now hit the
Barrier's lifted. Oh, we're doing real damage in now.
Yes, but the damage the core sustains can't be easily repaired. Dispel the barrier when needed, and with enough damage to the core, Excavalion will crumble.
The last cylinder. The barrier should be down.
Wind in the field. Let it move.
I am the police, and your aim is on point.
We got this in the bag.
Don't let your guard down. A foe is most dangerous when it's cornered.
where's the glowy ones?
I don't like the looks of this leaking mana. Whoa! What's it doing?
Excavalion is trying to force you off. It must be desperate if it's going to endure collateral damage.
Oh, fuck. Stop! I'm stunned. Oh, no.
I'm coming.
The AI doesn't know the jump.
Just see how they skeet down the giant's arm? That's its face? Oh, I want to try that.
There is an
It kind of stun locks you. If it catches you once, you kind of fuck a wee bit.
Survival mechanism to regenerate its defenses in such a short time.
But it can't raise them faster than we can knock them down. Focus on the glowing cylinder.
Go get her! I won't disappoint you.
That's the last cylinder. The barrier could be down.
I've got you now, brother.
Come on, Skyfarer. Topple that sucker. You can do it. We believe in you.
Ooh, but you're going for the big move.
Just sit back and enjoy the show.
I don't feel like I should chain it because fuck, he's already dead. Itchy left hand when I go out. Or itchy right hand when I go out. Fuck, that was a boss fight. That was a boss fight. Well done.
Oh, come on, boss. They knocked that sucker down. Mind blown. That's all I got to say.
Mind blown, exactly.
This is why I do all the hiring.
That crew packs a punch. Impressive, to say the least.
Dun 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 dun. Dun.
Can't walk anymore.
Whew. Same. My dogs are barking.
It's a good thing that dragon was out to do fuck all.
I'm glad you're safe, Vern. And the catalyst? Do you still have it with you?
Got it right here.
Thank goodness. And all that's left is to rescue Lyria from Avia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go team. Power Rangers.
There's still one problem, though. How do we find Lyria when we don't even know where to look?
Riku, what's happening? Just saw you were online, sorry I'm so late. Not a problem, sir. Thank you very much for coming. Did you see that fucking fight there now, though?
Yes, really.
It was class.
To a place called Fondem.
Subbo, thank you for checking on. Welcome on.
Magma flows deep beneath the land. Not exactly what I call
Ooh, a party level 28. Is that going to do it this time around?
Why would they go there?
Riku, thank you for checking on.
Come, back to the Grand
Riku's an IRL buddy of mine. Streams a lot of Kingdom Hearts, playing Kingdom Hearts 2 at the moment. If you're not already following.
Sorry to butt in. Me and the boys are going to park ourselves right here. If you come across any curios while you're out there, come see us again. Trade you some great items for them.
Zathba, you kind of betrayed us a wee bit. Thanks, might make the giving it. Hope you give us a VIP treatment this time, because you kind of were a bit of a dick. Always massively appreciate the shout out. Not a problem.
Don't you? I can appreciate the hustle.
Did you like them emotes I sent you earlier?
But if you really need me, just call. I'll come around.
I don't know how many emote spaces you have, or how many animated ones you have as well. So I just generically made a few. Oh, everybody's leveled up now. Everybody's leveled up. Absolutely amazing. I've used nothing at all. I've slacked massively. Ah, well. But it's all a bit of crack, really, isn't it? Seems like there's something behind here. I thought I seen something glow. Oh no, it's just it was sunlight. Sunlight is what confused me.
Right.
I am thoroughly enjoying this game. This is so good. Oh, there's purple. There's a purple thing. There's a purple fucking thing. I don't even look to see what the item is anymore. The coin. I just assume whenever I go to things, I have items they upgrade. Which, to be fair, I normally do, so it's normally fine. And let's see, what do we have? We have some masteries that we have to get done. Narmaya does have quite a bit at the moment. Rackham, I think, is the one lacking. Rackham? Rackham is the one lacking the most, because he tends to be the one who goes down in combat quite easily. So let's give him some defensive boosts. I also don't know if I can reset these. Like, are they completely lost if I decide to switch over to another character?
All right.
All right.
It's all coming back to me.
Slag shot, Spitfire, bullet hell. I'll change you over for Spitfire. And put duration on. Raise that HP a little bit. Poison resistance. Ooh, nice.
That's the stuff. Not bad.
Not bad. Nicely done. Well, that should do us. There, Rackham. His power's still lower than the rest of them, but he's doing all right. He's doing okay. He's a good kind of ranged fighter. Do we quick shave? Quick cheeky shave? Ah, that was actually really, that has absolutely flown on. That has been a mental night. And thank you, everybody who came on as well. Everybody who's chatting, and all the resubs and the butts as well. You absolute legends. Thank you so much. We are going to see about raid night now, though. Because it's 11 o'clock. It has flown in. It has happened a lot quicker than I thought it would. What cool folk do we have streaming at the moment that we can raid into and see what's happening? You know what? Why called on this earlier on? I know we've raided her a couple of times, but she called on this earlier. She is a fellow Irish streamer living over in the United States at the moment, so her streaming time is normally quite late. But she's just started. Amazing. Brett, what's happening? You were lurking. Hi, my name is Leyoric. I'm not was lurking. Bad joke. Ready? I appreciate you. Thank you. Brett, what is the story? So we're going to raid on the Bois. She is an absolute legend. Sound as a pound. Really, really funny. And if what we're going to do is we raid message, but we're also going to see if you guys have beat the boss today. Let me check. 12-hour stream. You first, buddy. You first. Let's see. Has the party beat it? No, the boss still survives. The boss still survives. So it means next time you come on the chat, you're going to have to check on. But if you top raid message as for followers, bottom one is for subs. I will be back tomorrow night. Me and Hook are doing some more Resident Evil 5 co-op. And then it'll be... I'm going to try and do Resident Evil 2 speedrun again on Wednesday. And then bring that back into the rotation. Damn, I forgot to check in. Damn you, flim flam bam a lamb. But we're going to go on and have a wee chat with Bois. And I will see you folks on tomorrow night. See you later. Bye-bye.